TikTok Studio access last week for my backup, and now it's all paying off. If anyone's wondering, why are we here on my backup account that I rarely ever use? This is like the first time I'm ever doing the people's receipts on it. Well, because when I was live with Facts this morning, a man actually threatened me with sexual, and I just pointed out what they had said to me in the comments. And apparently that I got a violation. Well, I was supposed to be banned for a week, and then I appealed, and I'm just banned for 24 hours for, doing absolutely nothing wrong. But just to be clear, I did nothing wrong. And if you need, Jen, do you want to be a mod? I don't have mods on this backup account. So let's see. Actually, can I not even add mods? I don't even see that it's an option. Maybe that's not. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out. Oh, you can. Sorry. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to add a couple mods. I don't think, I think I added like 5 people as mods, but if you're normally a mod, I'll try to like find you and mod you. But I never go live on this account. So all the people that are normally blocked are not blocked, and all the people that are normally modded aren't modded. There were just like a couple people I was able to search out. That's what I was doing. But here, confirm. Miller, I just modded you too, just in case, And then, I think Joanna Chrissy, I don't know where Cooter has a job, so she's probably working. But yeah, so I guess this is a good idea. Anyways, if you are not following my backup account, please follow it now. I need to start using it. And this is probably good because I probably should have done this a long time ago. There was a week I was going to do lives for my backup when I was banned. But again, I'll have my regular account back tomorrow morning. But for doing nothing wrong and actually being a victim of somebody else saying something gross to me, I am now banned for 24 hours from my main account, which is ridiculous. Sorry. Yeah, I'm following no one in this account. I have no mod. So if you're like, what's going on? This seems different. It very much is. That's Bunny. I modded you. And yeah, and again, we have some mods. It should be okay. Maybe no one will even come in here to this live and it won't even be an issue. But just in case, just, make sure. Because on my main account, that's kind of like our safe space where I just go ahead and block everyone who bothers us in any way. But this is very much not like that. And actually, let's block people. I'll block people if people are being inappropriate. But if my plan is with this account, because it does have 100,000 followers. And if I ever decide to do debates on my own, I plan on using this account. So I don't want to block too many people unless they're absolutely insane. But I literally just put this whole thing together, had no mods. I just have, what's going on? My light just shut off. No, I don't know. Okay. It's just got darker in here. Whatever. Anyway, sorry. Hey, Miss Julie, you're a mod. I made you a mod. Just anyone's names who happen to be following me on this account. I was going through my followers on this account. I don't even know. I haven't used this account in so long. I barely even recognize my mutuals. So anyways, but thank God I randomly applied for TikTok Studio access on this account. So here we are. It's almost like I saw this in advance. Thank goodness I saw your live on YouTube and added you. I know. Amen. Thank you guys so much for joining. And if you are, let me just make sure we're live on YouTube and Twitch like normal. It should be okay. Everything should be like normal. It's just I've never also used Streamlabs with this account. So sometimes things can be just slightly weird. Let me just make sure we're live on YouTube and I get that going. And then we'll get this party started. Again, like always, happy Monday. If you missed, by the way, Fax and I did a live this morning. We talked about narcissism as economic capitalism. It was pretty great. So if you didn't, it did get me, I thought a week ban, but a 24-hour ban. So if you weren't present for it, the replay is available on my YouTube, and it was a really good one. I know. And can everyone just share the live with 10 people right now? Because that's the thing. Yeah, I have 100,000 followers on this account, but I don't even recognize who they are. So anybody that is usually in our lives, it's safe to say, does not follow me on this account. I literally was trying to look through people to mod people, and I was like, I have no idea who anybody following me on this account are. So just if you could just share the live with 10 people, and I mean people you think probably already know we're here. Hopefully we'll let's tap the screen. Let's see how many likes we can get. That's going to be super necessary today because like I said, I don't even think people know. Give me 1 second to finish this YouTube stuff and then we'll get the party started because we have some important things to discuss. And this is a good idea also why whether you're watching on Twitch, we are now live on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok and X. Wherever you're watching from, just follow me on all platforms. And I always suggest like subscribing to YouTube. Subscriptions just mean follow in YouTube language because that way, let's say this happens again or something happens and I'm not live on TikTok. Like let's say I got banned on both my profiles. A lot of people are getting banned for weird reasons. Like a couple weeks ago, Matt got banned on both his accounts at the same time. So then if that happens, I would just go through Streamlabs and I'll probably be live on TikTok and Twitch, but not here. And that's why I say YouTube is great for subscribing because they let you know when someone's going live. I'm not super organized, so I don't like have the times preset like Midas Touch, it will like tell you 30 minutes in advance. But when I go live, the cool thing about YouTube, I feel, are the updates. So like anyone I follow on TikTok, I also subscribe to them on YouTube because YouTube is really good about updates of who's live. It's not just like notice that weird dot like when you log into YouTube. It actually tells you when people, Marlene, you made it. Thank you. So nice to see. We have 66 people that have arrived here. Awesome. I'm glad to see it. Let's continue. We need aggressive screen tapping. Let's just work on likes today and then we'll see how many people we can get in here. Yes, I will reset my gift goal and then this is good because for the future, now that we've done this once, like it'll be easier the second time because God knows, I just had to reset. I just realized for TikTok Studio, if you get banned from one account, you have to reset up the entire thing for the backup account. So at least now, if this ever happens again, wait, why can't I only write 5? Oh, okay, I'm not even going to worry about it. We're going with 5. So at least now, if this happens again, it will be easier. I probably should have done this a lot sooner. Thank you for the hat. And thank you guys for being here. Keep tapping the screen. Let's share the live. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you guys would like to support me, this is my Cash App and Venmo. I was going to say, let's not subscribe to this account. I don't even think I have this account set up for subscription. So don't worry about subscribing. I don't even know if it's possible. Let's just, if you would like to support me today, do that through Cash App and Venmo, gifts, and then obviously screen tapping because like I said, and this is so crazy. Well, this is good. We're learning. And Chrissy, the amazing Chrissy, one of my mods who lives in Florida, she was pointing something out. I just want to point out some hypocrisy just because this is kind of an older story, but it just reminded me when Chrissy was talking about this in our group chat a few minutes ago, like, here, let me just pull up the article. I put the gift article in the Discord, which it's like, I don't know if that was worth a gift article, but I just want to remind everyone of this. There was an article, the New York Times covered this. Many people covered this. A woman, and I'm going to get her name horrifically wrong. I want to say Marcy Reintgen said she was held in jail overnight after she deliberately challenged a state law by entering a woman's bathroom in the government building. This is a trans woman who used a women's restroom and then was jailed after. And Chrissy was basically saying, oh, like I was seeing her TikTok and she was discussing this. And it just occurred to me that around this same time, because I was Googling, when did this happen? Does anyone remember about a month ago when I was screaming about how Rod DeSantis stole $10 million? This all happened around the same time. We're jailing people in Florida for using allegedly, let me just say allegedly, as my brother has said, allegedly. Forensic accounting, however, doesn't lie. And I'm not going to you don't have to believe me. I just want to refresh everyone's memory. So we're in Florida jailing people for using restrooms. And meanwhile, the governor of Florida, right? And I just want to refresh everyone's memory. There was a large, I want to get it wrong. It's Medicaid fraud, I believe, Medicaid fraud that totaled, I believe, $67 million. And the settlement was to pay, $67 million was to be paid into government accounts. And Ron DeSantis is like, oh, we got that $67 million. Well, it turns out that $57 million was paid into government accounts. And then upon auditing, $10 million actually was deterred from government accounts and put into what? A charity run by Casey DeSantis. And I don't want to get, and I'll look up the exact details. And along the way, even then, I think some more money went missing. And this money was moved by, I believe, a current Attorney General of Florida. And then after it ended up in that charity, it was then moved to a Ron DeSantis super PAC. So, I mean, whilst we are worried, Ron DeSantis is chasing down brown people who are citizens. We've got, concentration camps that are quote unquote, immigration detention facilities where people are just trying to use the restroom and spending the night in jail. And then we have the governor of Florida disappearing $10 million. And if you missed my live this morning with facts, I was going through a study and talking about cultural group narcissism, right? And corporations. And I was talking about how instances of psychopathy, they believe about 1% of the US population is exhibiting the symptoms of psychopathy. But if you look at C-suite level executives, say corporations, right, that number of the prevalence of psychopathy moves up to about 3.5%. And it's a similar transition in politics. Like one of the stats I was reading from this study I was reading was that there's nowhere or more psychopaths concentrated than in America's capital, Washington, D.C. And I just find it very hilarious that while people are just trying to go to the bathroom and we're wasting our own tax dollars punishing people for going to the bathroom, we've got people like Ron DeSantis who are misplacing $10 million and they're ending up in his wife's charity and then being moved to his own super PAC. You can't write this stuff here. There's this, like I said, I just had to set up this account in TikTok Studio. So I have a few less features. So if it takes me a while to pull things up, I'll get there. I'm building it back. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that hat in so long. Thank you so much. Keep tapping the screen and share the live. Even after you shared the live, share it some more. Again, we're on my backup account. I didn't even have one mod. I just happened to get TikTok Studio access for this. So it's going to be hard to get people in here. So the more we interact, the more we share the live, the more we give, you know how it works. Hopefully we'll build up some people to get in here, and then make sure you guys can help me as people join. Just remind them, if you're not following me on this account, this is not my main account. This is my backup account. So follow this account, because it's looking like TikTok is changing a lot of rules, and there might be, it seems like a lot of people I know who seemingly aren't doing anything wrong are being banned. So I might be doing a lot of lives from this backup account soon. So make sure to follow me here, and then we can all find each other easier. And again, I'm about to show you, just let's recap Ron DeSantis disappearing $10 million. And I'm not going to show you a Democratic Florida, state rep talking about it. This is a Republican. It's the Republicans that are coming after Ron for the 10 million going missing.
It tends to show that our attorney general committed money laundering and wire fraud.
State lawmakers asking tough questions about how $10 million was funneled into a nonprofit called Hope Florida and not into a state bank account. The charity was spearheaded by First Lady Casey DeSantis.
That cash quickly went out the door to two nonprofits for $5 million grants and promises that the money would be used to further Hope Florida's mission, not politics. But those nonprofits later gave millions to a political committee fighting and defeating last year's recreational weed amendment, Keep Florida Clean, a group chaired by former DeSantis Chief of Staff turned Attorney General James Uthmire.
James Uthmire knew it was a tax-deductible donation to a charity when it went to the charity, and then he knew that the second these two dark money groups would receive the money, they would send it to him and his PAC. It's shocking to me that the state's Attorney General couldn't even cover his tracks better.
The guy can't even crime right. I mean, you'd hope that the Attorney General would be able to cover up his criming a little bit more efficiently.
We've invited Jeff Aaron, another lawyer at the center of this, who was the attorney for the Hope Florida Foundation, to come next week and explain himself. And we invited those two dark money groups, the Secure Florida's Future and Save Our Society from Drugs, to come next week and explain themselves to the committee. I've also requested a ton of documentation from the state agencies and from these groups. If I don't get them, we'll probably send subpoenas next week just to require the documents to be produced.
The governor, Ron DeSantis, has been forced into responding to this.
This is a manufactured hoax. None of these Republican leaders got elected on the platform that they were going to launch baseless attacks against the governor and first lady. Shame on you in the Florida House and your terrible behavior and leadership.
Governor DeSantis has been acting more kind of manic and emotional and erratic as the weeks progress. It's almost tough not to feel sorry for him. He's exposing himself as a terrible manager.
Depending on what you find next, where do you think this should go?
I think that the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Florida should be concerned about the misuse of Medicaid money and the wire fraud and money laundering that's been uncovered. If I'm a federal prosecutor, I'm building a RICO case right now, and James Uthmire and the other attorney, Jeff Aaron, are at the center of it.
Again, that was a Republican in Florida's supermajority in the Florida State House speaking. And by the way, I've followed this. I have Google alerts set up for this case. And I was just to remind myself, I was like, that's weird. I don't remember ever seeing an update on this. Oh, because there isn't one. This is the thing. They have followed the money. They know it moved. The settlement with this company that defrauded Florida taxpayers in a Medicaid fraud out of 67 million. Well, let's say, I think it was more, but the agreed upon amount that they were going to pay back to Florida taxpayers was $67 million. $57 million showed up in the accounts. $10 million showed up in a charity owned by Casey DeSantis. Then that money, as you just heard, what if I just got a violation? Let's tap the screen. I have no idea why I just got a violation. Oh, maybe it was because it was something was said in the video. I don't know, but let's just tap the screen. Let's not get me banned. Tap the screen, and we love TikTok shop. Let's not get me banned from this account. But again, I have Google alerts set up for this. The only thing, and I was like, oh, maybe because I was just checking, I was like, oh, I need to make sure there's no updates before I tell this same story again. So I went and looked. No, there's nothing. The clips they're showing of Ron DeSantis screaming that this is a conspiracy against him. Nope, that's it. Because there's no defense against forensic accounting. So the weirdest part is, that guy was saying, I mean, they were like, where do you think this should go? And what he was saying was basically the federal DOJ. So I guess the question is, What's going on? Is Trump going to hold Ron DeSantis accountable for moving $10 million out of taxpayer accounts into his wife's charity? Is that going to be a thing, or this is just going to be allowed to go unchecked? I mean, they could also go after him on a state level. I just want to say that. It's not that they can't. But meanwhile, we're terrorizing the LGBTQ in Florida. There's travel advisories against going to Florida. Tourism is one of Florida's largest industries, which is being tanked in real time. The construction industry is tanking. The agriculture industries, because of the concern or the focus on rounding up innocent brown people who were fueling Florida's economy. But meanwhile, the governor is allegedly taking $10 million and moving it to a nonprofit managed by his wife. And then it mysteriously moves again to a super PAC run by someone that works for him. So if I were Florida taxpayers, at every turn, I would be bringing up, where is that money? Where is it? When is it going back into the accounts of Florida taxpayers? It is, and the only other clip I could find of Ron addressing it, he's crying and screaming at one of his planned press conferences where people only ask him questions that he knows the answers to. Oh wait, actually, let me see if it loaded. Oh, it did. Hold on, I have it. It's really uninteresting. It's just him crying. Just prepare to see Ron DeSantis crying. But he says it's a cherry on top. It's not. Again, the settlement was for $67 million. $57 million showed up in taxpayer accounts. $10 million shows up in a Casey DeSantis charity. Meanwhile, though, we're wasting Florida taxpayer money on putting people in jail for using bathrooms.
DeSantis now, for the very first time, less than 24 hours after a heated hearing that happened in Tallahassee.
State lawmakers want to know how $10 million of taxpayer money was funneled into a nonprofit spearheaded by First Lady Casey DeSantis and not into a state bank account. Local 10's Hannah Yashivi is live in Sweetwater, where the governor addressed it this morning. Hannah.
Christy, Janice, the governor telling me this is all part of an appropriate settlement between ACA, the Agency for Healthcare Administration, and his wife, Casey DeSantis' nonprofit called Hope Florida. If you take a look at this video, it just shows you lawmakers in Tallahassee yesterday during a heated hearing that took place. Lawmakers wanting to know how $10 million of taxpayer money ended up in First Lady Casey DeSantis' nonprofit organization. She created Hope Florida to try and help people get off welfare with local programs rather than government programs. But yesterday, during that hearing, members of a House subcommittee asking tough questions after learning the $10 million are part of a $67 million court settlement by ACA that was given to Hope Florida with no public oversight or public accountability. Yesterday, the committee chair asking if the money transfer was legal. So this morning, I went ahead and asked the governor also about the legality of those public dollars going to a private foundation.
This was a settlement, a totally appropriate, it was a good deal that was negotiated. When you do settlements, you can try to get as much money as you can, but this was in addition to what they were getting. This is kind of like a cherry on top where they
That's a lie.
agreed to make an additional contribution.
Just making sure we're clear that Ron was just telling a little fib. The entire settlement that was meant to go back to taxpayers was $67 million. Just to be clear, $57 million shows up in taxpayer accounts. $10 million goes to a private charity owned by the governor of Florida's wife. And it's almost like, okay, who cares? Not who cares. That's a lot of money. And the governor of Florida shouldn't be stealing $10 million allegedly. But why does it matter? Because if you're not aware, Casey DeSantis is probably the next conservative candidate for governor of Florida. That's what she wants to be. That's how they are positioning her. So that is what I'm saying. That's why this is, it's important anyways. But that's why. Because these people, and I haven't heard anything about this now for a month. Let's see. Yeah, it's May. It's Cinco de Mayo, by the way. Yay. Yeah. I mean, literally a month. And Ron DeSantis did one press conference and made up that story, which is not real. And then we never hear about it again. Why is this man stealing from people and no one's asking why? And hold on. And I did a little Googling. So I just want to show everyone really quick in case anyone wants to look up oh, wait, is it here? Oh, yeah, that's me. Give me a second. Yeah, here. Just in case anyone's like, how do I find this? I found the New York Times. Let me wait for it to load. Okay, here we go. Is this working? Sorry, hold on. Again. Here we go. There we go. Hold on. This is the live article. This is the New York Times. So, why did a charity tied to Casey DeSantis suddenly get a $10 million boost? This is, and so this article is April 24th, which was much later. A charity meant to help people stay off public assistance. The irony is the money was a Medicaid fraud. A corporation who stole from Florida taxpayers was supposed to, went into litigation and agreed to pay $67 million back to the taxpayers. And this charity is meant to help people stay off public assistance, was the signature product of Florida's popular first lady. Thank you for the hat, Casey DeSantis. But over 3 years, it had managed to raise only about $2 million to help struggling families in Florida. Then last fall, a $10 million windfall suddenly arrived from an unlikely source, a Medicaid contractor embroiled in a case of overbilling. Within weeks, the money was gone, right? So I'm just explaining to you, a lot of times nonprofits, the reason, let's say, Trump can't run nonprofits in New York, right? This is the type of stuff that was happening. He was accepting and moving money through them in ways that weren't necessarily legal. Within weeks, the money was gone, not to churches or other groups helping the needy. Instead, the Hope Florida Foundation quietly funneled it to 2 nonprofit political committees that helped Governor Ron DeSantis and his allies defeat a November ballot measure. Oh, that's probably how I got the violation. That would have legalized the devil's lettuce. The mystery of the $10 million and how it ended up being used to help the governor's political aims has engulfed Mr. DeSantis and his wife in a growing scandal in Florida. Republican state lawmakers and news reporters are investigating the money trail. And they have investigated. I just want to be clear. The money trail is clear. I want to see, there's one piece of this that's, I feel like there's a little bit, the AG. Oh, I just feel like there's here we go. The DeSantis administration disputes that the $10 million was Medicaid funding, which was highly regulated, but it was part of a settlement after the Medicaid contractor, and I think it's Centene, it's CENTENE, overbilled the state. An early draft of the settlement agreement obtained by the Miami Herald and the Tampa Bay Times, yeah, that's what I've seen, showed that Centene had overbilled by about $67 million. The total amount that the company repaid Florida last fall, including the $10 million that went to the foundation. So when Ron DeSantis, that video I showed you where he's like, it's a cherry on top. No, it's not. What are you talking about? It is not a cherry on top. The total was about $67 million. They were supposed to pay it back into government accounts, and somehow $10 million went to your wife's charity. It's readily apparent that a culture of neglect, incompetence, and entitlement exists within the halls of the governor's office at this time. This is a Republican speaking. And by the way, this charge is being largely led by Republicans. There's a Republican supermajority in the state house. Like, these investigations are Republican led. This is yeah. So I'm just trying to, except for the only part of this I wanted to talk about. Let's see. The lawyer for the Agency for Healthcare Administration, Florida's Medicaid regulator, has denied the $10 million came from Medicaid. So just to be clear, anything Ron DeSantis is saying, they're like, that's not true. In a letter to Mr. Andrade's committee, the agency said that Centene had identified about $57 million in overbilled funds. No, that's not correct. That's not what it says in the contract. And provided the extra $10 million as reimbursement to a private charity funded. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And that's not what it says in the settlement. On Thursday, Mr. Andrade questioned why Centene would agree to such terms when it had not done so in other states. He also noted that Florida was using the $67 million total to calculate the share of returned Medicaid funds that it had to hand over to the federal government, meaning the Florida and the Republicans that run Florida thought that they were getting $67 million. They got $57 million. $10 million went to Casey DeSantis's private charity. And now that Medicaid company's like, oh no, like trying to cover for DeSantis, but they're saying, hey, well, we thought we were getting 67. Such a windfall was unheard of. Now, and that's the other part. Like, I think I read this before, but the Hope Florida Foundation, of the $2 million it had raised before last fall, total ever in its history, this charity that Casey DeSantis in its entire history had raised $2 million in total. It had given out $500,000 in grants, mostly ranging from $10,000 to $20,000. A fund within the Hope Florida Foundation gives grants, quote, to deserving local nonprofit organizations dedicated to meeting the needs of students and families. So, in a charity that in its total time had only taken in $2 million, suddenly $10 million showed up. Its previous function as a nonprofit was to move the money that was donated to it to other nonprofits in grants. And this money didn't go to nonprofits. It was moved into a Ron DeSantis super PAC to defeat you remember what was on the ballot? It was the devil's lettuce and the AB amendment. Women's reproductive health. Just saying. After the settlement was signed in September, the Hope Florida Foundation in October gave its $10 million away to two nonprofit political activist committees known as dark money groups, because they do not have detailed release reports of their finances, meaning they didn't just move it anywhere. They moved it to somewhere that they don't have to explain what they're doing with their finances. Half went to Secure Florida's Future, which is run by the Florida Chamber of Commerce. The other $5 million went to Save Our Society from Illicit Substances, which seeks to prevent illicit substance use. The grant proposals submitted by the two groups did not detail how the money would be spent. And they don't have financial disclosure requirements, or they have limited ones. It is impossible to track exactly how the funds were used. But here's the best part, because I knew, now here we go, because I was like, I know there's more to this. But that same month, the two groups, so they moved the money into this nonprofit that had never in its existence had a total of $2 million. $10 million moves into this Casey DeSantis nonprofit. Then it's moved into two separate dark money PAC accounts where there's limited disclosure required. Then the two groups routed a total of $8.5 million. The money moves again to Keep Florida Clean, a political action committee created to oppose Amendment 3. That's the amendment for devil's lettuce that was on the Florida ballot. So that's what I was trying to get at. So again, there was a total of 10 million, then 8.5 million moves. And all I want to point out is the current sitting attorney general is the one that facilitated this money moving. 1.5 million is missing. I don't know who it went to. I don't know why after the third time the money moves, $1.5 million is now missing. But you tell me where this money went. Nonprofit organizations such as the Hope Florida Foundation are limited in how much they can contribute to political causes or risk losing their tax-exempt status. Mr. Andrade said the payments from the Hope Florida Foundation far exceed the charity's spending limits on lobbying and campaigns. So right there, FEC violation. Again, still 1.5 million, never moved the third time. Where's that money? And that's why I'm bringing this up. This article, this is actually a really good article. It kind of has it all together because when I first reported on this, I was, piecing together. There's this really good. People in Florida probably know there's like this website called like Florida Politics or something. There's some really good smaller website that reports on these things, but this is actually a really good article. So, here we go. Between October and December, Keep Florida Clean sent $10.5 million to the Republican Party of Florida and $1.1 million to the Florida Freedom Fund, Mr. DeSantis's PAC. So again, do the math. 8.5 million moves, 1.5 million is missing, 1.1 went directly to a Ron DeSantis PAC. There's still 400,000 missing. Both the state and Mr. DeSantis's PAC spent money opposing Amendment 3, which they argued would hurt Floridians' quality of life. Again, I'm just pointing out. And then the reason I keep saying where's the money is because of the AG that was helping this money move. I don't know if someone got a kickback, but think about it. We're saying the money moved twice. It was 10 million in total. The third time there's only 8.5 million. Then 1.1 million eventually, however it was doled out, shows up in a Ron DeSantis PAC. I'm just pointing out really weird things. Meanwhile, though, just to point out, we're spending tax dollars prosecuting people who used a restroom in Florida or tracking down people with no criminal records. We're running facilities where, immigrant detention facilities where, what is the one called that people are picketing outside of day and night? The name is slipping my mind at this point. What is that one called? And people are literally camped outside 24 hours a day in Miami. The worst of the worst, like they're not giving people water, like people are in a room and they have like a bucket. But still, what is that detention center in my Chrome? Thank you, Brooke. I knew someone would get it. See, still with 134 people in here, we still Chrome facility. Thank you. Chrome facility. If you haven't heard of Chrome, I did do a piece on it a while back, but I would say pound for pound, I'm not saying the Texas detention facilities and other places aren't horrible, but Chrome in Miami it's Krome, I believe. Look it up and look into what's going on. There's a reason people are outside of it picketing day and night. It is no good. But meanwhile, and we have the leader of Florida saying, let me look around and point out the criminals to you. That's apparently people using bathrooms and the crime of having melanin. That's what we've got. Meanwhile, we've got millions of dollars meant for Florida taxpayers to recoup what they had been defrauded out of disappearing. And that's not even, I didn't even plan on saying that. It's just, after doing that talk this morning, again, Fax and I did a great live entitled, Narcissism, Economic Capitalism, or Narcissism, Economic Capitalism. If you happen to miss it, the replay is available on my YouTube and I plan on clipping it. But this is just an example, right? We have huge crimes going on. I just want you to remember that Trump said that people should be jailed and removed. If you steal a loaf of bread or saying people are stealing from Walmart. Meanwhile, politicians are disappearing millions of dollars. Corporations, that the whole 67 million was originally being given back to Florida taxpayers because they were defrauded from a corporation. And these things are, slaps on the wrist. I've been listening to a lot of true crime podcasts lately, and it's just fascinating to me, like the rise in people defrauding people, and I mean, in Bernie Madoff fashion, like the people with nothing grifting people out of their life savings. And these are people who steal millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. But, it's white collar crime, and they go to jail for, a year, if that. And we need to start thinking about that. Like, we are now living in a society where if you have money, if you have power, if you have influence, you're not a criminal. If you can pay a bribe, you're not a criminal. White collar, you stole $500 million? You defrauded people in a crypto scam? That's fine, as long as you can pay a bribe. That's not a crime. But meanwhile, you steal a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk because your kids don't have anything. Throw the book at them. That's the society. We are ordering our society in a way that the only criminals are people that can't afford to bribe the government. Hey, Chelsea. Hey, Ari. It's good to see you guys. Welcome, welcome. Keep tapping the screen. If everyone could share the live with 10 people. Again, we are on my backup. I was banned. Someone said some really horrible things to me this morning when I was live with facts. And because I simply pointed it out, apparently I did something wrong. I was going to be banned for a week, but the good news is I'm only banned for 24 hours. So tap the screen. We are almost at 100K. We've made it to 80K. Thank you guys so much. Tap the screen. Keep sharing the live. And Andy, thank you so much for the $10 on Cash App. You don't know how much I appreciate it. All of my research relies on your tips and donations. And Andy, thank you so much for your support in general, because you are a light in the darkness, as are all of you. So let me get back. I mean, not on task. That's on task, but we have a lot of things. I'm sorry in advance for the news I'm about to deliver, but hey, don't blame me. Oh, God. I don't know how I want to cover this stuff. I'm just going to lightly cover it and try to keep the mood light, but I think I'm shocked at how many things are happening, and I don't see more coverage and people understanding. 1 week ago today, it was Trump's 100 days, or was it the day before Trump's 100 days? Well, you know what I'm saying. We were in the 100 days haze of Trump trying to make up a series of pathological lies about what he had achieved. Okay. And so 1 week ago today, he signed, I think it was 2 executive orders, I believe, or something. And he said that was, the way he talked about it was that he was going to make America safer. And I believe when I first read about it, because at the time I was really sick and I didn't do a whole lot of research, but I was like, oh, it's more stuff on the border, discriminating against brown and black people. I want to show you, after I had some time to look into what some of these executive orders say. I don't even know what to say anymore about Trump. Trump issues executive order ramping up American police state. So just bear with me here. Remember, actually, this does a good job. Remember the whole thing Trump ran on? Because this is the best part. When he used to say words, he didn't know what they meant. He kept saying, we're going to indemnify the police. We're going to indemnify the police. And that is something that is in Project 2025, right? If you don't understand what indemnify means, it means if the police, I don't know, let me just give an example, break into your home, force your wife and daughters outside of the home in pouring rain in their underwear, ransack your home, steal everything in it, your life savings, all your devices, and then basically It turns out you've done nothing wrong. You're an American citizen who has committed no crime. What is the recourse for that? Well, Trump's last executive order is what he was running on in 2024, basically making it that when the police or any government law enforcement organization assists Trump in violating people's constitutional rights, that they will not be able to be held legally liable. I'm glad you're here, Kellogg's. And see, people are finding us. Please follow me on this account. This is my backup account. I'm banned for 24 hours for pointing out that some guy wanted to hurt me. So follow me and everyone share the live with 10 people and we're going to get to as many likes as possible. We're almost at 100K. Thank you so much for finding us. Thank you guys also, like, I think for the people who are modding, like, I didn't even have any mods when this day started on this account. So this is going surprisingly well. So I just want to remind everyone, remember when he said he fantasized about one really violent day of policing, like the Purge, as an answer to eradicating crime in America? Speaking to supporters gathered at the Bayfront Convention in Erie Convention Center in Erie, Pennsylvania, Trump mused, "One rough hour." This is a quote. "One rough hour, and I mean real rough. The word will get out, and it will end immediately, you know?" On Monday, this is last Monday, and it's like we're so tired, we're so desensitized by these executive orders, we're no longer even paying attention. As he prepared to celebrate his 100 days, Trump cited an executive order ramping up his efforts to embolden law enforcement across the country and shield them from accountability. The president instructed his administration to, this is a quote, "unleash high-impact local police forces, protect and defend law enforcement officers wrongly accused and abused by state or local officials, and surge resources to officers in need." So what this is an executive order saying, if police violate the Constitution, if they violate your constitutional rights, if they assault you, if they rob you, if they do unspeakable things to you, like we saw with that family, the woman and her children, who were American citizens who had done nothing wrong, that Trump is going to indemnify them, legally protect them. He's actually, you know how he's now threatened all these law firms? This extends, and I'll show you a resource if you want to read more about this, but he's actually trying to bully law firms into giving police officers free legal aid who assist him and commit crimes in the process. That's what he signed last Monday. Trump directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to launch a program providing free legal resources. Wow, thank you so much. Love the fireworks. Free legal resources to police officers accused of wrongdoing. Do you know, let me just give you an example. I'm a native born Phoenician. I was born in Arizona. Do you know that the Phoenix Police Force, and I'm talking about the city of Phoenix, they don't even operate on their own independently right now? Do you want to know why? Because they have done so many unconstitutional, illegal things. They have unalived so many people for no reason that they are literally being overseen by the DOJ. They're not allowed to operate as an independent police force because they're that dangerous to people's continued survival. And Trump is now saying, I'm going to not only allow these people to do whatever they want unconstitutionally, I'm going to provide them the free legal aid to do so. In one paragraph of the order, the Attorney General and associated agencies are instructed to, quote, maximize the use of federal resources to support state and local law enforcement training, increased pay for officers, enhanced sentences for crimes against law enforcement, and, quote, investment in the security and capacity of prisons. The signed order also encourages the prosecution of state and local officials for unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out duties. I was making this outline yesterday and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to tell them about this tomorrow. And I didn't screen record it because I'm so tired of Tom Homan. But this morning, someone asked Tom Homan, like, hey, about this. And he basically is like, just wait. Or about jailing state and local government officials who tried to stop the police from violating people's constitutional rights, or let's just say randomly ransacking people's homes or doing home invasions, stealing people's stuff because they're brown, because their names don't even match a warrant. And Tom Homan was like, just you wait. Oh, we're going to put them in jail. That's what this executive order says, is if, like, let's say a governor or a mayor or a police chief gets in the way of police violating the people's constitutional rights, put them in jail. It calls on the Justice Department to prosecute state and local officials who promote diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that supposedly restrict law enforcement activity or endanger citizens. What we are saying is, if you stop us from violating the constitutional rights of brown people in any way, we will prosecute you. On what grounds? I don't know. We used to live in a world where presidents couldn't rule through random executive orders of insanity, but I don't know that we're there any longer. And we'll get to that, because you'd say, oh, this can't happen. Well, one of the most chilling things I want to show you guys today, and maybe we'll go right to it. If you didn't catch 60 Minutes, I think we will. I'm going to wrap this article up and I'm just going to show you. 60 Minutes did a piece yesterday on what Trump has done to the legal profession. And what is chilling is the first clip is like, hey, we could not get any lawyers to show their faces for this piece. They fear for their lives. They fear for their freedom, their safety. The only lawyer who would show their face on camera, well, I think there's two, but the only one that was saying the things that needed to be said was Mark Elias. If you don't know, Mark Elias is the ultimate thorn in Trump's side. The Mark Elias law firm handles all of the voting rights cases, gerrymandering cases. This is one of the bravest people in the fight against tyranny. He is literally, 60 Minutes says that. And remember, this is 1 week to the day that there's 137 geniuses in here, so I know someone will know. What is the name of the 60 Minutes executive producer that resigned? Because if you don't know, a week ago, Paramount is trying to, the billionaires that own Paramount, the family, they're trying to make a bunch of money. Is it Dan Brown? That could be right. That sounds right. Is it Dan Brown? They're trying to sell CBS for a lot of money or merge it, right? And in order to do that, they have started to stop Bill Owens. That's it. Bill Owens. It's Bill Owens. When you just hear a name and you're like, that's it. It's Bill Owens. I feel like it's Bill. I feel like, William is the same as Bill Jassy. So that could be right too. William could also be Bill. But Bill Owens sounds super right. Oh, Jared, let me mod you. Just saw you there. Sorry to all the people who are like, I'm no longer a mod. Again, this is my backup account for just pointing out this morning when I was live with facts that some man was, saying things about graping me. I was going to be banned for a week, the good news, and then they reviewed it and decided I only needed to be banned for 24 hours. So tomorrow we should be back on my other account here. Sorry, I'm just trying to add a few people because I had no mods before. Just the people that there was like 4 people that happened to follow me back on this account. So those are the people I modded. Okay, hold on. Yes, Caffeine, you're there too. And then we will get back to the things at hand. I think we're good. I think we'll be safe in here. But yeah, like the goal is just next time, because people are getting bad left, right, and center on TikTok. So when it happens again, like this won't be so weird, and it will be more seamless. Okay. Oh, that feels so good. Sorry. Remind me to drink water. Okay. So again, this is the situation we're in. Now, I'm just I feel like I missed one part of this. No, I think that's pretty much it. So I want to show you the Mark Elias clips I'm talking about. So again, this is last night on 60 Minutes. We're 1 week out from Bill Owens. Bill Owens resigned, basically saying Paramount is stopping 60 Minutes from doing real journalism. They're interfering in our investigative journalism. They're stopping us from telling the truth. They're telling us what we can and can't report on. And it's sort of like the last stand of an ethical journalist, which by all accounts, Bill Owens is loved and respected. He just said, unconscious, I have to resign. Like, my ethics as a journalist are being violated. So he resigned. 1 week later, and I love to see it, 60 Minutes is doing this piece. And know that Trump is literally threatening again to sue them, which actually, let me just layer that on with the irony. So again, all that happened 1 week ago. This week, this airs on 60 Minutes with Mark Elias and them saying, we literally couldn't get lawyers to show their face on camera out of fear of retribution from Donald Trump. And an interview aired also yesterday morning with Trump on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. And remember, part of the reason that CBS and their parent company Paramount is interfering in 60 Minutes journalism is because, go back to the 2024 presidential election, Kamala Harris and Trump both were invited for a sit-down 60 Minutes interview. Trump was scared, canceled, didn't show up. He is now suing CBS. He says that they edited Kamala Harris's interview favorably. And I will invite anyone to go through the actual transcript of Trump's interview, the full transcript of Trump's Meet the Press interview with Kristen Welker. About 75% was edited out. And let me help you. It's all the lies. It's all the 2020 election was stolen stuff. So all of this happens yesterday. I do this live this morning describing, the shared fantasy that malignant narcissists draw their victims into. MAGA, you are in a shared fantasy with a pathological liar / malignant narcissist. And I want to show you that. Let me find these Mark Elias clips because they are, I'm not in the presentation. Let me pull the actual clips up. And I've always, if you've ever watched my show, I love Mark Elias, but man, this man is a class act. I just appreciate what he's doing so much. Okay, so again, and if you're not, this is just a friendly, not suggesting anyone ruin their mental health and be on X, but this is a great account. It's like basically I think it's the Democratic Georgia account at Blue ATL Georgia. You can follow them on Blue Sky, on YouTube. This is a great account. That whoever is clipping things for this account, chef's kiss. Great content. 10 of 10 recommend. It's at Blue ATL Georgia. And don't have to be in Georgia. Oh my, Deb, thank you for the $50 on Venmo. I will not burst into tears because it's a waste of time. But Deb, I could right now. You just don't know how much you help us. Said with tears in my eyes. Love you, Deb. Deb, said with tears in my eyes. Anyways, don't, Deb. Do not make me do it. But thank you. It's much appreciated. Okay. So again, this is last night, Mark Elias, the only lawyer, one other lawyer in San Francisco, who I'm sure Trump is like, ruin this man's life immediately, who had the nerve. This is the first clip that 60 Minutes plays after all the things I just told you, all the legal trouble they're in with Trump, fighting off a lawsuit. Bill Owens quits a week ago in protest.
It's nearly It was nearly impossible to get anyone on camera for this story because of the fear now running through our system of justice. In recent weeks, President Trump has signed orders against several law firms, orders with the power to destroy them. That matters because lawsuits have been a check on the president's power. Many firms and attorneys have been targeted, among them Mark Elias, a longtime opponent of Trump, who is the only lawyer the president has named who was willing to appear on 60 Minutes. Elias and others are warning that Trump's assault on the legal profession threatens the rule of law itself. Elias says that for him, it began with the president's personal grudge.
Donald Trump hates me because I fight hard and I fight for free and fair elections. I insist on fighting for democracy in court, fighting for voting rights in court, and insist on telling the truth about what the outcome of the 2020 election was.
Are there risks in doing the work that you're doing?
I'd be an idiot not to be worried. The question, though, is what do you do? Right? Do you just cower in the corner? Do you just try to disappear? Do you just leave democracy to fend for itself? Or do you stand tall and do the best you can every day to represent your clients and try to preserve the rule of law?
Speech, Mark. And I will tell you, and I know somewhere from years ago when I was a full-time content creator, I know I posted this. There was a compilation made that, and I'm very good at finding things on the internet, and I've never been able to find it. But there was a compilation made, and like Mark Elias, if there is someone that keeps the Republicans up at night, this man, like his win record in court against conservatives, against Donald Trump, is unmatched. Like Mark Elias, protect this man with our lives. That's what I'm telling you. And if you don't know, Democracy Docket, at Democracy Docket. You can follow it on Blue Sky. That is Mark Elias. That's his company. He does podcasts through there. If you want more information about voter rights cases in your state, it's at Democracy Docket. And it is a wealth of information. As soon as they make a little bit, like, you know, I would say we have subscriptions, like to the Washington Post, to the New York Times. Like, that's how I get a lot of information. And like, Midas Touch is another one that, like I say, whenever you guys give me money, I just reinvest it back into the business so I can use it to get us more information for the people's receipts. But that will probably be one of the next ones because he hosts all these amazing lives with like attorneys generals and things like that. If you look, but there's free information too. You don't have to pay for it. So look up Democracy Docket and make sure you follow it because Mark Elias is amazing. You will learn so much.
Trump calls him a thug.
Donald Trump is the walking embodiment of everything that is wrong with the American political system. And so when Donald Trump says that I am unethical or that I am undermining his vision of America, I say, boy, I must be doing something right.
Elias was top of mind for Trump this past March, both he and another lawyer who had once investigated the president.
With the help of like Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz, never seen anything like it. There's so many others, but these are people that are bad people, really bad people.
Projection is fascinating, right? Like, what has Mark Elias ever done other than just point out the truth? And that rattles Trump over and over and over. Like, because you know how I know Mark Elias lives in the minds of MAGA? Because when I first, like I said, I didn't used to live stream. The first year I was on TikTok, I never spoke in a video. I was too scared. But then when I started speaking in videos and decided to do something about politics, I was a full-time content creator. Like I would post 10 videos a day. And part of that was just watching MAGA. Like I would watch Steve Bannon's show. You know, Steve Bannon is live 5 hours a day. And Steve Bannon, I cannot stand him, but he's very smart. And if you want to know what's going on, which way the wind is blowing, someone who's never wrong on the count of votes in Congress, Steve Bannon knows what's going on. That's why I keep an eye on him, because he's not smart, if you know what I'm saying, the double negative. And if there is one person that keeps Steve Bannon up at night, it is Mark Elias. Like, he would spend an hour screaming on his show and just be like, where's our Mark Elias? Like, where's our Mark Elias? Where's the guy that's fighting for us in court? Like, we need this guy. Like, how much money to flip Mark Elias? But it's also like, that's the problem with MAGA. Like, the truth is not on your side. So you're never going to really have a Mark Elias, which I'll get to. There's a fascinating, I think it's either a New York Times or a Washington Post article about kind of the same thing, just the struggles of the lawyers that work in the Department of Justice. Like, facts aren't on their side. They're violating the Constitution. They're beholden to the ethics of the bar, trying not to violate all that. And they're like, what do you want us to do? So I don't even know if I blame the lawyers working for Trump. It's just, I don't think it's possible to defend a pack of lies and corruption, in my opinion. Oh, and it just gets better. If you didn't love Mark Elias before.
Beginning in February, the president signed the orders attacking the law firms.
Wait, I just want to savor this one, please.
6 firms in 6 weeks, including Mark Elias's former firm.
About 15.
Each had a connection to an investigation or legal case related to Trump or his allies, including Robert Mueller's 2017 probe of Russian election meddling, subversion of the 2020 election, and alleged mishandling of classified documents.
This is an absolute honor to sign. What they've done is it's just terrible.
Targeted firms say what the president signed amounted to a corporate death penalty.
And it should never be allowed to happen again.
The orders threaten to bar attorneys from where they work, courthouses and federal agencies, and cancel the contracts of law firm clients. For example, an aerospace company could lose its federal contracts if it stayed with the firm. A senior partner at one firm told us the president's orders were, quote, diabolical, intended to bankrupt us. He said within hours, his major clients were threatening to drop his firm. It took only a matter of days before America's wealthiest and most powerful law firms buckled. In a shock to the legal community, 9 major firms went to the White House to make a deal. Some say they were pressured not by a written order, but by a message from the White House threatening an order.
It is trying to intimidate them, the way in which a mob boss intimidates people in the neighborhood that he is seeking to either exact protection money from or engage in other nefarious conduct. I mean, the fact is that these law firms are being told, if you don't play ball with us, maybe something really bad will happen to you.
How many times have I said that all Trump does, and I mean this with the tariffs, with everything, it's a basic Queen's mob boss protection racket. That, like, everything Trump does is the basic unintelligent Queen's mob boss leveraging people, right, in exchange for, and here's the ultimate irony, protection from who? Protection from him, right? It's the same thing with women. Oh, don't worry, ladies. We're going to protect you. From who, men? Like, what? We need you to protect us from you. Like, it's the ultimate. This is, I mean, basic Queen's mob boss protection racket. That's what tariffs were, right? Like, I'm shutting off the economy. I'm punishing all corporations. And then you guys can crawl on your knees to me and beg me, right? This is the basic Queen's mob boss protection racket. Like, I will turn off everyone's upward mobility, everyone's ability to make money until you come to me and beg me. That's what he's doing with other countries, right? He's trying to leverage them. Trump's not, he's not a genius. It's not reinventing the wheel here. He's got one move, right? Leverage people. Jeremy, thank you so much for the $5 for your tuition. Now that school vouchers are legal in Texas, I do expect more regular small tuition payments from everyone. There should be adult school vouchers. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I appreciate the $5 on Cash App. You don't know how much I appreciate it. And I mean that truly. Like, as long as I can do this, I will do it. And yeah, we can get into that story later. Okay. So again, now we're getting into like deeper into this.
One firm that reached an agreement with Trump was Skadden Arps, where attorney Brenna Frey resigned in protest.
I think the message it sends to the country is power is what matters. If you have power, you can exercise that power however you want. And if that's true, why have a legal system at all? Why have law firms or lawyers at all?
You thought that Skadden would fight?
Absolutely.
Why did you think so?
Because that's a foundational principle of the firm, that we are zealous advocates for the law.
Why did this mean so much to you that you felt you had to quit?
The law firm is tacitly saying, we'll listen to the administration. We won't fight in court. If we won't fight over this, what else won't we fight over in court against the federal government?
In a note to its staff, Skadden Arps called its deal with Trump extraordinarily difficult, but the best path to protect our clients, our people, and our firm.
I think that they're naive if they think this makes the issue go away.
Naive? What do you mean?
There was nothing in these agreements that prevents the president from issuing another executive order against the law firm in the future.
Also, can I just say, we are talking about the largest for-profit like law firms in the country. Skadden, I mean, these are corporate law firms charging between, let's say, minimum is like, you know, the assistant lawyers are billing at $600 an hour. Like, in your, these are for-profit law firms protecting profit. You know who hasn't caved to Trump? Legal aid, nonprofit, the ACLU, nonprofit law firms doing pro bono. That's Latin for free, you know, for nothing, for the good, for good, not for money, right? Those people don't have to cave to Trump. So when I'm just saying this because it sickens me when Skadden's like, oh, we're protecting. Oh, you're protecting yourselves. You're protecting your profit margins, period. And actually, I'm just saying this because I've done a lot of research on this because I love, people are always like, why are you obsessed with court documents? As a researcher, I just love, this is the last place the truth matters. And Mark Elias will tell us what happens if all these law firms cave. We're about to face a position where anyone who has a case or who's been victimized by Trump or anyone under his umbrella, nobody will take your case. Nobody will defend you. Why? Not because I love how Skadden's like, oh, you're protecting your gross profit. You're protecting yourselves, right? You're protecting other very rich people. Like, period. End of story. The ACLU's not caving to Trump. They're still fighting. And just to be clear, all of these lawyers, and I'm saying this because I'll never forget, like, it actually made me respect the legal profession more. Like, my brother went to a top 10 law school in the country, Berkeley. He graduated from there, and I was sitting at his graduation. I remember the speech. I can't even remember, but it was someone pretty famous who was giving this like commencement speech. And I remember a huge part of that speech was talking about pro bono, not for-profit legal work that they would do for $600 a billable hour, but what they owed to the American people, which was legal work for the good, right? Legal aid for free to do what is right and just. And you are not just beholden to the gross for-profit legal firm you work for. You're beholden to the ethics of the bar. And what Scadden did was betray themselves, betray the ethics of the bar. Nancy, you made it. Amazing. So glad to have you here. And everyone, again, this is my backup account. I'm banned for 24 hours from my main account. Please make sure you're following me here because it's looking like TikTok's going to be banning a lot of people, a lot. So we may be here. And again, the more people follow me and we can be found more easily, the easier it will be in the future. And just keep tapping the screen. We should be at 250K. I know, like, this is weird and there's only 167 of us, but we have done more than this with less. So let's all tap the screen and get to 200K as fast as possible. I know Billy Ray Dipchip, everyone's getting violations. Like, I never get violent. If I'm getting in trouble for things, I never do anything wrong. Like, no offense. And I mean that because I'm not trying to. Billy Ray, if you guys don't know Billy Ray Dipchip, follow him, one of my oldest followers, and one of the people just that terrorizes MAGA day and night. Billy Ray is doing the Lord's work by following MAGA around the internet and reminding them that they are insecure. So, but yeah, no, everyone is getting banned. You say something and you are banned. I didn't do anything. I just pointed out that a MAGA person in the comments said that I should be raped, and then I was banned for gender discrimination or I think was the actual, I don't know. But so I think we might be spending more time on this backup account the way it's going. Everyone follow Billy Ray. I mean, he has 27 different accounts. You never know what account he's under, but trust me, he's worth it. And if you ever see him in a MAGA live, you will die laughing in the comments. I mean that, Billy Ray. Like, I'm doing something here, what I'm doing is something you also are giving back. And you have been like one of the first people I followed on the internet. But I see you. I know the work you're doing, Billy. Keep up the good work. Anyways, let me get to this because I want to, here we go. Thank you for the hat.
You're at the mercy of the government, and it's like a protection racket.
John Kecker is a prominent attorney and Democrat in San Francisco. You're not suggesting that the president's running a protection racket.
I am. I'm suggesting that he is violating the rule that says you can't offer a thing of value in return for an official act. That happens to be the definition of bribery. Anybody else who came to Washington and said, I will give you $100 million of free legal services if you do this for me, would be convicted of a bribe. You're at the mercy.
Think about that. So remember Snyder v. United States, right? Remember, because I harped on this. I opined on this, as they say in the Supreme Court. Because remember, now, thanks to the Supreme Court, who has completely emboldened and empowered Trump, basically gave him immunity to enrich himself, John Roberts must just stare up at the ceiling at night thinking, what the have I done? Right? And if you're like, what's Snyder v. United States? That was some local, I believe, Illinois politician who was just, he accepted bribes, basically. And this got all the way to the Supreme Court. And believe me, this was a plan. And you know what Snyder v. United States determined? Hey, as long as you accept the money after the fact, it's not a bribe. It's a tip. Surprise. So I agree with what this man's saying. I think Trump does basic protection rackets. But now, and then that was going to lead into no tax on tips. Just to be clear, MAGA, in case any of you are in here lurking around, that's not included in Trump's budget. There's the no tax on tips that I had to listen to you all be like, this is amazing. And remember the no tax on overtime? Somehow that's not in there either. Oh yeah, the no tax on Social Security, also somehow not in the budget. It's the weirdest thing that every single thing you guys said, all those the populist BS that I had to listen to, that you guys said that's why you were voting for Trump. You're not getting a dime of it. I mean, even though we already knew that. And actually, as long as I'm just on this, I'm just going to say it one more time, over and over and over. If I had showed you 2 resumes and you with no names, Kamala Harris is pound for pound the top 5 most qualified people ever in the history of the United States to run for president. And I could make the argument that she's the most qualified easily. I could. But I'm just giving it some, because, some people, you have some other favorites who their resume could stand up to hers. But I am telling you, MAGA, if I hear one more uneducated, lost, and confused MAGA and cognitive dissonance say, Kamala was a bad candidate. No, she was not. You have a lot of misogyny and colorism and to unpack within yourself. She was absolutely the most qualified candidate for president. You want to know who's an unqualified candidate? Donald Trump. Period. End of story. Don't ever talk to me about Kamala Harris's qualifications until you're ready to be embarrassed publicly. She is more qualified than Bill Clinton, more qualified than Ronald Reagan, the weirdo actor who ran. What was he? He was I'll give him. Was he the president or the vice president of SAG? He ran a union of the Screen Actors Guild. Like you want to talk? You don't. If you're saying qualified means an insecure male, I mean, that's what I'm hearing from you guys. Which, yeah, let's stay on this line of logic, because I think that is what you mean when you say she was a bad candidate. I'm telling you, if I showed you 2 people's resumes with the names removed, no pictures, she is literally one of the top 5 most qualified people to ever run for the office of president. So then you have to ask yourself, what is it about Kamala Harris that made her unqualified? What did you guys say? That she didn't, do interviews? Yes, she did. You guys said that Trump was doing interviews. Let me help you. Trump's interviews were pre-organized. Only certain questions could be asked, and you were not allowed to fact check him live. Those aren't interviews. The same way he operates now. You don't understand when media is being engineered. Quite literally, every single thing that Kamala Harris has said has come to pass. It's like she is a mother effing oracle. Every single thing. MAGA, you were wrong about everything at this point. Unless you want, oh my God, I almost said come up here and tell me what you weren't wrong about. Maybe. This is my backup account. So, my other account, everyone is blocked. This account, maybe I will argue with someone. If anyone wants to tell me what you were not wrong about, I'm willing to hear it. But it's everything. I can help you in advance. You were not right about anything. And because Kamala Harris was, I'm not sure, a woman or brown, multiracial, whatever it was, that precluded you from being able to vote for her. And now none of us will have a financial future. Firing on all cylinders, MAGA. Your decision-making never ceases to disappoint all of us.
Trump's attack on the law firms has been described by a federal judge as a personal vendetta. None of his targets is charged with any crime. Trump, however, was indicted by federal grand juries in cases about the 2020 election and allegedly concealing classified documents. He pleaded not guilty. Those prosecutions were dropped only because he was reelected. Last year, a state jury convicted him of falsifying business records, making him the first felon in the Oval Office.
I think that's a point that people don't mention enough. MAGA, in your quest to just blindly believe every word that Trump says and parrot it. When I think of MAGA, I just think of little parrots, but parrots are cute. So maybe a grosser looking bird, just sitting there repeating things, just parroting anything you heard. Let me help you. You keep saying that Trump says that he was targeted and it was all these people that are after him. That's really not what happened. Do you understand what a grand jury is? What happened is random citizens in Georgia. I'm now talking just about the state Georgia case. Random people in Georgia, in the South. You could call it a purple state. I know MAGA, you guys want to say it's a red state, whatever you want to believe. In Georgia, in the South, states' rights, brother. Random people were selected and impaneled. That's what they call a grand jury. It's not random people that work for the government that are against Trump. It's just random citizens who are impaneled. And then they just say, here's the evidence we have. What do you think? Should we indict him? And he was unanimously, they voted, the grand jury, to indict him. That's how he was indicted in Georgia. That's how he was indicted in New York. That's how he was indicted in D.C. I'm now talking about the federal D.C. case, the fake elector scheme and beyond that Tanya Chutkan was overseeing in D.C. It wasn't like some D.C. people were like, hey, let's form a conspiracy against this man. What happened was random people were selected through something called voir dire. A grand jury was impaneled, and they're like, here's all the evidence we have. What do you think? Should we indict him? And a jury of his peers said yes. I think that, every day I learn that MAGA knows less than I previously thought they did. So just to be clear, that's how Trump came to be indicted. It wasn't a conspiracy. It wasn't people saying, oh, let's indict him because we're all in a cabal. This is a bunch of really rich people getting together in the back rooms and we're going to indict him. No, just random citizens who were selected for jury duty who heard some evidence and said, yeah, indict him. Just like when Trump was found guilty of 34 felonies, he was indicted by a random grand jury of his peers, and then another random grand jury of his peers was impaneled and found him unanimously guilty. Same thing in the civil trial, right? And by the way, what I'm describing to you right now is called due process. What you're denying other people, Trump has gotten in every case, at every turn, more due process than any people have ever gotten in their lives, more respect from the legal system. And again, he was found unanimously liable for SA, not by a cabal of shadowy rich people that are against him, but just by a random jury of his peers. So let's make sure we understand how the justice system works. And imagine, I would be very upset. I think about this all the time. If I was impaneled on that grand jury in the J6 case in D.C., the federal case that Judge Tanya Chutkan was overseeing, and I was in fear for my safety and facing threats and all these things, and I risked life and limb and my future to do the right thing and sit on that random grand jury and say, hey, I've seen this evidence. You're right. He should have his day in court. We should indict him. And then he was just let out of it. I'd be pretty upset. That's not justice. The American people said, hey, we've heard this evidence. The only people that heard it presented. And that was before. More evidence was found after that, superseding indictments, more evidence was found. And the only people to ever hear that case said, absolutely indict him. And for some reason, we continually forget that. And I talked about this, right? The shared victim mentality. Actually, let me while we're on that, I want to just quickly show this because I played it a little. Actually, let me finish this and then we'll go to that. Let me finish off this and we'll pivot.
Are we reaching a point where a person will go to a law firm with a case that is opposed to the President of the United States, and the law firm will think, Do we really want to take this case?
We're already there. They are deciding not to take on certain kinds of clients that might upset the administration, or not taking on certain kinds of causes that might put them in the crosshairs of the administration.
If lawyers give up their independence, what is lost?
The rule of law. And this is why the business community ought to care. Today, it might be that, Donald Trump thinks he can take over the election system through one of his executive orders. Tomorrow, maybe it's the banking system. After that, maybe it's contracts. Maybe he decrees, I'm going to decide which contracts are binding and which contracts aren't binding. So the legal system is fundamental to how our society operates, how capitalism operates, and everyone should have a stake in that.
Are we reaching a point where
Mark Elias is amazing. Keep fighting, Mark. Okay, yeah. And this is what I want to... Oh, puzzle piece. Give me 1 second. And the live will not be shut down. We are good. Well, maybe not for that reason. Give me a second to find this. Again, I just want to show you, like I was talking earlier, if you missed it, the live is Vax and I did one of our best lives ever this morning. We had like 1,500 people in there on average. And that was just on TikTok. Like I was on Twitch and YouTube. So, and I was going through a study called, our live is entitled Capitalism, Economic Narcissism, but I was basically going through a study. Let me not miss the name of the live before I play this. The name of the study. I put it's Group Narcissism, a Disease of Capitalism, right? And I was basically MAGA was not having a great time. They're a part of has not already happened. And if you scored already, I sent the link to everyone. I think I sent it to everyone twice. People are probably at this point annoyed with the link, but I am telling you, and I know it's like, why? I have so little time. I don't want to read some sort of study. Like I'm telling you, this was the best 29 pages of your life. And why? And I'll say this. I never want to name, I didn't want to name names. I didn't want to make this about individuals. And yes, the parallels to Trump are there. But it's also, recently this last week, we went through a lot of situations on the left where it turns out there are malignant narcissists hiding amongst us who have done a lot of harm, right? People saying, oh, I'm on the left and I care about people. And that it turns out that might not be the case. I feel like this last month had been the month of, it turns out a lot of people who were selling, themselves to us in a certain way, it turns out they were the opposite of who they said they were. And what I wanted to try to do this morning, and again, if you watch a live Vax and I do, highly recommend. It's available on YouTube. It's called Capitalism. What is it called? Economic Narcissism. And it's because this has all been done. And this study I'm talking about, again, it's called Group Narcissism, a Disease of Capitalism. The main author is Peter Murphy. It's talking about the Nuremberg trials and these original, some of the forefront of psychiatry, the psychiatrists and psychologists who were present, if you are like, what the F are the Nuremberg trials? This is where the schmazzies were held accountable. And it's about what came of the Nuremberg trial and the diagnoses that were made. And MAGA, I feel like, is always feeling like, God, there's never been anything like Trump before. Like, this is all new. And I was just, disabusing of them of that notion and showing them, hey, you're just following another guy that's similar to the same. And I was drawing the parallel of capitalism is literally economic narcissism, right? Like, the advent of neoliberalism, which was the shift of capitalism to privatization, corporate monopoly, the shift away from the collective to the individual, and I can't remember who, but someone pointed out, someone mentioned Milton Friedman, which I hadn't even said. And yes, Milton Friedman is the father of neoliberalism and economic narcissism. And so I want to show you, though, just to continue that line of logic, how victimhood can be monetized, right? Right? Why is Trump always pretending to be a victim? That is one of my, I think it's Hannah Arendt wrote a book on totalitarianism. Ruth Ben-Ghiat wrote The Strong Men, right? A book on authoritarian strongmen. I think it's like Mussolini to Trump or something like that. And this is victimhood. Is the shared experience of authoritarian fascism, right? Convincing people that we are the victims, and it's kind of idiotic because it's of that small group of whoever, right? Like, hey, those other people over there, they're out to get us. They're ruining our lives. Until we do something about them, nothing will ever be okay again, right? The victimhood is literally monetized. And I say that to say, think about how Trump has monetized victimhood, and think also how even on the left, right? And I said this morning, the only difference I can see at this point between the left and the right, and why it's uncomfortable to be here, but I'm proud to be here. Yeehaw. Thank you for the hat. Is accountability, right? That's it. That's all we've got. The only difference, we are all, narcissism is an epidemic in American society, in neoliberalism. Well, I'm going to get into it in a second, but the only difference between us and them is just saying, hey, you need to take accountability. That's it. So do bad actors show up on the left, infiltrate narcissists, or what we call malignant narcissists, which I was explaining this morning, is the dark triad when you get into deep psychology. What's the dark triad? It's psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism, which is sadism, all in one. So when I use the words malignant narcissism, I'm not just talking about your everyday narcissist, right? I'm talking about someone, this is probably 1% to 2% of the people with narcissistic personality disorder register as malignant narcissists. These are people who are using not just narcissism, what is narcissistic personality disorder? I would say the way you can identify it is a lack of empathy and a shared fantasy with their victims. What you're seeing is Donald Trump, thank you, yeehaw, thank you for the hat, is a shared fantasy. MAGA is in a shared fantasy with Donald Trump. What is that fantasy? That they're victims of the left, that people are trying to steal from them, trying to take from them, that brown people have their money, right? That trans people are somehow out to get them, that teachers are turning kids gay, right? This is a shared fantasy of the malignant narcissist. But the difference between a regular narcissist and a malignant narcissist is just as prevalent as the narcissism is the psychopathy and the Machiavellian sadism, right? Not just are they in a shared fantasy with a lack of empathy, ready to victimize people, but when they feel their back is up against the wall, when they feel anxious and scared, then here comes the psychopathy, here comes the sadism, right? I'm not just going to unalive people, but I'm going to torture them in the process, right? Like that is what we are essentially talking about. And if you're looking for an example and what this study was showing and why MAGA was really having a tough time with it is some of the foremost psychiatrists in the world who were present at the Nuremberg trials diagnosed all of Trump's idols, right? Mustache Man, Stalin, Mussolini, all the people that Trump wants to be have been accurately diagnosed as what I'm telling you. They embody the dark triad: malignant narcissism, the psychopathy, the sadism, the narcissism. So not only does he have people in a shared fantasy, right? But all of these other things exist as well. And that is what Mustache Man was essentially up to. So it was really tough to watch MAGA be disabused of their own victimhood. I don't think they took it well. But I want to show you And again, I never suggest.
Problem is.
Hold on, sorry, I didn't mean to start that. I don't even suggest following this guy because I don't suggest giving narcissists supply. And I think even following people is part of that. But I will tell you who this is. His name is Sam Vaknin. He's one of the foremost psychologists and authorities on narcissism, but he is also a diagnosed, he has narcissistic personality disorder. And as I was raised by a malignant narcissist, so I can tell you, I could watch him at times getting supply off of the information so I don't suggest finding him and liking his videos or don't do it. But I mean, you're listening to one explain the experience of being one. And this is now, he's specifically talking about the victimhood. And I want you to think about Trump, the shared fantasy that he has MAGA in, that they're all victims.
Problem is that victimhood has become a way of obtaining narcissistic supply. Victimhood is an organizing principle, the same as narcissism. Today, if you want to make sense of your life, of your failures, of your mishaps, and this is an alloplastic defense. You blame others. And the minute you blame others, they become automatically abusers or exploiters or bullies or something or predators, and you become a victim. But victimhood is not only a way of feeling good about yourself. It's a way of attracting attention. You can monetize victimhood. You can compete with other people. This is known clinically as competitive victimhood. You can send signals, victimhood signals, which are deceptive, a form of deceptive signaling. And what the victimhood signal says is,
picture that. And I think the most powerful thing I wanted you to hear, and if you want to hear more from Sam Vaknin, as I always tell you guys, I was raised by a Trump. So I'm always, I've spent thousands of hours understanding how the brains of these people work. And I never found it useful until such a time as this fascist takeover, because now all of a sudden, all this knowledge matters. But the most important part of that is talking about monetizing victimhood, right? Think about the amount of money Trump has leveraged from MAGA, saying he's a victim. Hey, I'm standing in between you and them. I'm the only thing in between them and you. I'm your savior, right? They're persecuting me because they want you, but I'm just standing in the way. They're after me because I'm protecting you. Right? This is Trump has monetized victimhood to the tunes of billions of dollars at this point. But also, I don't just want to extend this, because the reason I was giving this talk, and like I'm saying, rewatch the live with facts, and I can do, even if people want me to go further into this, I easily could. But it's not just on the right? But I will say this, the rise of authoritarian narcissism is unique, and it's a psychological phenomenon unique. The concentration of psychopathy, of narcissism, and of Machiavellianism is concentrated and unique to the right, but that does not mean that people on the left, that people can't pop up, that bad actors don't pop up on the left. And I think the reason I wanted to talk about this is less about let me do a live calling out people who have done bad things on TikTok. I feel like we've done a lot of those lives. I don't need to pile on. But what I want people to understand is this is a symptom of capitalism, of collective narcissism fueled by capitalism, and specifically the onset of neoliberalism. And I'm not saying neoliberal has nothing to do with liberals or the left. It has to do with, it's a conservative movement when they started privatizing things. The neoliberal movement is privatization, deregulation. Does this sound familiar to you? Privatization, deregulation, a focus on the individual, a destruction of the collective. Yes. Thank you, Tootle. You're always there when I need you. what I'm about to be like, wait, I forgot. Offshoring jobs, globalization. That is neoliberalism. Whatever people, I love to listen to MAGA say globalism like it's a bad word. Well, you all invented it. Why did offshoring happen? Why did globalism happen? Right? It was corporations, which the instances and prevalence of psychopathy are higher than the general population, recognizing that they wanted to exploit people, and the average American was starting to demand what? Rights, wages, livable wages, rights, bathroom breaks, pensions, healthcare. They didn't want to pay for it. So they said, it's getting real hard to exploit these people. Let's go find a place where we can still exploit people. That's it. I mean, it quite literally was part of the dark triad that's prevalent in corporations: narcissism, sadism, and psychopathy, saying, Americans are starting to demand we treat them as human beings with rights. Well, let's offshore all of this. That is what neoliberalism is. And I want to show, and I didn't play a lot of this, but I saved my best for you because Sam Vaknin, again, I don't suggest anyone go follow him. Don't give him the narcissistic supply, but he is one of the foremost scholars on narcissistic personality disorder. Also described it, it describes, I suspect him. No, but so what I want to talk about and what I was talking about was that this was the diagnosis at the Nuremberg trials of Mustache Man, of Stalin, of these people, right? Is the malignant narcissist. And this is Sam Vaknin, a diagnosed person with narcissistic personality disorder, now explaining to you who a malignant narcissist is. And you tell me if this sounds like Trump, but not just Trump, anyone else you can think of in American society, right? The presence of psychopathy in American society on average is 1%. In C-suite level executives, it's 3.5%, right? I always said, like, I had to leave corporate America because I had too much empathy.
Social narcissist, which is by far the most dangerous type of narcissist. But I mean by far, is far more dangerous than psychopath. Far more dangerous than narcissist. It's this malignant narcissist, this is known as malignant narcissist, or psychopathic narcissist, antisocial narcissist, is probably the most dangerous person alive. I am not aware of any other disorder which is more dangerous than this. Not sadism, not psychosis, no. This is the most dangerous. Why? Because it combines all the extremely bad elements of narcissism with all the tools of the psychopath. So while the malignant narcissist is actually a narcissist, he has a false self, he has a fantasy, and so on and so forth, he will not use typical narcissistic tools and techniques, which are the tools and techniques of a child. A typical narcissist is a child, is a baby, is 2 years old, 3 years old. So
how many times have I told you that narcissists are infants? Outside of their grandiose shell, underneath that, once you inflict narcissistic collapse, is an infant or a toddler. It's called arrested development, like that show. That's what they went through. They stopped developing at the earliest age because their primary attachment to their mother failed.
You know, it's funny sometimes. You look at a narcissist, you smile. It's like a baby who's doing cute things. So a typical narcissist would manipulate you and abuse you and everything, but he would do it more like a child. And you would see it coming, and sometimes you will forgive. Easier to forgive,
yes.
But not.
I just want to be clear, a typical person with narcissistic personality disorder abusing you is not funny. You are listening to someone with narcissistic personality disorder and a lack of effective empathy speaking. That's why I said so just understand. That's why I say don't necessarily follow him and give him narcissistic supply. But what he's saying is, hey, the average person with narcissistic personality disorder, that I promise you is very dangerous compared to a malignant narcissist, someone who was diagnosed like mustache man.
Not a malignant narcissist. The malignant narcissist is a narcissist, full-fledged, extreme form of narcissist, but he does not use almost any narcissistic technique and tool. He's not a child. He uses psychopathic tools, extreme psychopathic tools. He is cruel, he is callous, he is ruthless, he is aggressive, violently, dangerously. He hates authority, his contumacious, he is defiant, he is reckless, he couldn't care less about people, he objectifies them, uses them, tramples on them, kills them if necessary. Has no remorse, no regret, no shame, no guilt, no afterthought.
And to everyone, I think.
Not everyone, yes.
To everyone.
Everyone. And this is the kind of person who can easily kill millions of people, or has no problem whatsoever. Erich Fromm, the famous psychoanalyst in the 60s, diagnosed adult.
Fromm, that is one of the psychologists at Nuremberg. He just quoted one of the people I've been quoting from the study that I went through this morning.
Hitler and Joseph Stalin and Mao with malignant narcissism, if you want examples of malignant narcissism. So this is by far the most extreme form. It was described in depth for the first time by Fromm, but the clinical features and everything were described by Otto Kernberg in I think 1975, I'm not sure, in the 70s and 80s. So now we have this malignant narcissist picture. And luckily for humanity, only a very small percentage of narcissists are malignant narcissists. Malignant narcissism is not a comorbidity of narcissism and psychopathy. Not. This is a common mistake online, again. In a comorbidity of narcissism and psychopathy, in other words, when the same individual is diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and psychopathy, so there are two diagnoses for the same person, the narcissism is in charge. Narcissism is boss.
Because of the shared
Everything.
fantasy.
Shared fantasy, false self, all the dynamics, everything. So it's actually makes everything. So it's actually
doesn't have a shared.
I'm pausing because, sorry, TikTok Studio is telling me there's a problem with the internet connection. So I'm just pausing while it tells me the internet connection is firing on. Okay, we're good.
Classic regular narcissism. It's not the case with malignant narcissism. Malignant narcissism is not a comorbidity. It's a combination of all the clinical features of narcissism, all the clinical features of psychopath, and all the clinical features of sadist. Malignant narcissism is three.
And paranoia, I think.
Paranoia is outcome in all cluster B. But these three, sadist, psychopath, and narcissist, together, all the time, manifesting all the time. Not that one of them is in reserve, one of them is only for emergency, one of them is for collapse. No. This kind of narcissist is all the time narcissist, all the time psychopath, and all the time sadist. Whatever he does, with his wife, with his children, with his colleagues, he would always be at the same moment narcissist, psychopath, and sadist. So it's not a comorbidity. It's a amalgam. It's a concoction, cocktail that is really terrifying. And luckily, we think that only about 2 to 3% of narcissists are like that, and they create the biggest damage in interpersonal relationship, but also in politics, also in, as you heard, Hitler, Stalin.
For example, Hitler.
We getting it? Are we getting the difference? Like, in order to become a Trump, which I'm saying, like Mary Trump, which I believe is Trump's niece, she's a psychologist. Like, I'm just like many psychologists who haven't necessarily, people, malignant narcissists, they do not let people treat them. You can't therapize a malignant narcissist. But I want people to understand the picture, right? of how we are, the severity of the situation. So, and I think I did it. And again, I suggest if you didn't catch the live this morning with Fax and I, rewatch it. But people really need to start to grasp the psychological state of Donald Trump. Because when I say this man is not going to stop unless we stop him, I cannot mean that any more seriously. This is a pathology, and it's 3 pathologies. Like it's an amalgamation, right? And I like to say, and people don't understand this, but I'll just say you'd have to be raised by one. I think the perspective of a child raised by a narcissist, it's why people have always asked me, like, when I was a full-time content creator, they'd be like, do you hate Don Jr. or do you like him? And I'd be like, I just relate to him. I understand how we grew up. Like, we had similar childhoods, I understand why John Jr. might have issues with addiction. Like, however you survive that type of parenting, like, you're just getting through the next day. Like, you're not planning. You're just like, I'm just here to survive. But also imagine wanting a hug from someone like that. Like, still to this day, I'm like, it's going to happen. My mom's going to hug me. It's not going to happen, right? But you still hope for it. I mean, that's the pathology. And imagine all of this stuff is existing within one person. Narcissism. Understand, the core of a narcissist is a borderline. It's hard. Oh God, I don't have time to get really into this, but if you don't know what borderline personality disorder is, narcissism is essentially a defense against borderline. It's a defense against emotional dysregulation, right? Borderlines are essentially people who have a lot of trouble establishing a sense of self, establishing boundaries, and regulating their own emotions. And narcissism is this defense. Like, I'm not going to live like that. It's a grandiose defense that says, in order to not live like those people, I'll live in a house of mirrors. I'll tell myself I'm God, but I'm never going to end up like those people who can't control themselves, who are crying one minute and screaming the next, right? Narcissism is a defense against borderline. And imagine in the malignant narcissist, it's a defense against a defense against a defense, right? Narcissism is a defense against emotional dysregulation. And then psychopathy is a defense against the narcissism, and sadism is a defense against the psychopathy. It is a fascinating smorgasbord of, oh my God, we have a problem here. And that is what, from the man he was quoting, FROMM, if anyone wants to look up. And again, I sent the study twice to everyone in my Discord that I'm referencing. And all of this, it starts with the Nuremberg trials and talks about it. Like, this is who Stalin was. This is who Mussolini was. This is who Mustache Man was. Again, these people won't be treated by psychologists, but there have been independent psychologists and psychiatrists who have diagnosed Trump with the same affliction. So it's important. I think it occurred to me, like, we need to really make people understand, and it might help you understand your own parent. I don't know, because what you need to understand is narcissism, and what I was explaining, economic narcissism, is capitalism, right? And these ideals, individualism, right? Stepping on people to get ahead, arrogant, all of these ideals are valued in American society. Psychopathy elevates you in corporate America. So if we wonder, like, is there, there's many studies that have said that there's an epidemic of narcissism in the United States, that in other countries it is less prevalent. And I believe that has to do with capitalism, the religion that has become capitalism in the United States, that we now value sociopathic, psychopathic, and sadistic personality traits. And in a sense, people are evolving to develop them. Those are the people who are being chosen to procreate. Right? Like, that are people are saying, you're successful. right? These are the people who end up with billions of dollars. The prevalence of these people in corporate America is terrifying. Facts talks about it. I talk about it. Like I was raised by one of these people. Like when I just can't express I want to be really honest, especially in the last week when I want to be really honest about who I am, but I also don't think it you could even understand. Like imagine my childhood, I was raised by one of these people. So imagine what you do to survive that. And it's not that I thought I'm an insane person. I just thought this is what people do to survive. I tell this story a lot. I think I was 10 or 11 and I got called to the office and a psychiatrist and I loved it. I love talking to psychiatrists. Talk to me. And I didn't understand what's going on at this time, but I was displaying a lot of antisocial personality traits. And the psychiatrist was like, hey, why are you, because I was a little kid. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? And I was just like, hey, this is what I do at home to get my, mom away from me. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, this is just what I learned at home to keep my mom away from me. Not knowing that I'm displaying very disturbing techniques and survival skills at elementary school, but I just was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing to survive. And I will never forget, and that psychiatrist became my psychiatrist for a long time. And shout out to Dr. Gottlieb, great guy. But he literally told me that day, he's like, you have very high IQ and everything's going to be okay. And I never forgot. He's like, you're going to be okay. It's okay. You're doing fine. And I didn't understand what I was doing, but I had just developed a way to survive that was outside of what any other kids understood was happening. Yeah. And that's so and now this is a prevalent epidemic in society, right? People with these narcissistic traits that step on people, that hurt people. So that's when I say, if anyone's ever been confused, when I'm I was bred for such a time as this. I was literally bred to stand up to people like Trump. It is a unique skill set that I have because I was raised by one. And I always say one that was actually smart. Trump's not very smart. I was raised by a smart one. So, we can do it, but you just have to understand, what we are dealing with. And deep down inside, at their core, it's a defense against a defense against a defense. But they're all just insecure children, right? Trump's mother was hospitalized for months after she gave birth to his brother. Trump was a toddler. Yeah. Well, I mean, you could go into Trump's history, and people always ask, and I was trying to get into this earlier, and maybe I should go over the study again, because I didn't even get through half of it. But people want, how do you end up like Trump? Understand, Trump was extremely abused. Trump is the product of abuse. Like I said, it's a defense against a defense against a defense. Trump grew up, if you don't understand who Trump's father was, look him up. There's a reason that Trump's idols are authoritarians, right? Trump is trying to make his dad proud. It's that simple. It's quite sad, right? So, and that's why I say I've always related to Don Jr., because I see a person who was accidentally born with empathy who's trying to just numb it. That's the curse in a family like that, is having feelings. There's no place for empathy in families like that. And what this study shows, and actually, if you guys want, someone said I'd love to see it, I can go through some of it, but what we have learned is, right, how do societies, how did Germany fall victim to Mustache Man? Well, it's because they were raised in a predominantly authoritarian society that was prevalent with things like religion, right? You don't ask questions, you obey leaders, right? Most people in American society were primed to follow a Trump, right? You were raised in authoritarian household. The don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Like Trump is mirroring a lot of people's fathers, right? People who it reminds us of a situation we've already been in once. And that's what you have to recognize and see. And I'm not saying don't fear it. The reason I want people to understand the psychology of what's happening is just knowledge is power. Just understand, like, we are a bunch of broken people wandering around. MAGA is in a shared fantasy with a malignant narcissist. It's that simple. But understand that fantasy is powerful. That's how they're defying logic, defying reason. They're in a shared fantasy. Period. And we can get into, I can go into some of it, but I need to show some other things before we really break off into that. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But again, the live I did with facts, which I didn't even get into that much of it. I think I probably got into, the study is in the Discord and it's only 29 pages. It is fascinating and I promise you, it will help you understand. If you weren't raised by a malignant narcissist or someone it's about narcissistic traits and how it multiplies throughout society, how it's valued, how it's mirrored, how people, even if you have empathy, you're learned to almost turn it off in order to succeed in capitalism, that the individual is valued above the collective. And I talk about Brene Brown and how Brene Brown she does qualitative and quantitative research, and she talks about the way back to each other is empathy. It's being able to look at your neighbor and say, hey, I can feel you. I can see you. I can put myself in your shoes, right? That is our power. And I don't want to cry, but I'll say this. For my entire life, like I was told, my feelings were the worst thing about me, right? The fact that I could feel, I could put myself in other people's shoes, it was like a disease in my family that no one wanted to catch. But now, after realizing like that is my superpower, right? Like that's all of our superpower. So never lose that. That empathy that narcissists, psychopaths, sadists lack, that is our future. That is the collective. That's our ability to relate to each other and to form bonds. And that is a superpower that no one can take away from us. And that's why I love all of you, because like you guys like it. I was raised in a place where it was like a disease. Literally, they're like, please stop, please. Are you going to cry again? Are you about to tell us about your feelings? Like, please stop. Like I was so detached from my emotions in my 20s. It was almost scary. Like, and shout out to my Division I volleyball team. Apologies for who I was when I was 18 to 22. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Sorry about all that. Not the greatest teammate. Hashtag devoid of empathy at that point of my life. But thank God, like that's the best news. And like that's what you need to know, like us versus people like narcissists. Like we have empathy. As long as you have empathy, hey, listen, maybe you've hurt hundreds of people. Maybe you've made a lot of mistakes and you're like, oh God, like I'm an awful person. Just the nature, in the words of my psychologist, like, hey, I one of my first, like, you know, I always talk about how I've been in therapy for 6 years, and I showed up in therapy at PTSD camp because I have diagnosed PTSD. Thanks, Mom. And showed up and I was like, I'm a narcissist. Like I basically did like a 5-minute confession in group PTSD therapy. It was like me and veterans. And I was like, I'm here to confess. Like I'm a malignant narcissist. It's me. Like I'm a monster. I suspect all these things. And like the therapist was literally like, Felice, no, you're not. And I was like, how do you know? Are you sure? Like, I've feared this my whole life that I am my mother. Like, how do you know? And they're just like, no malignant narcissist, nobody with narcissistic personality disorder comes to therapy and says those words. By the sheer nature of you wanting help, it precludes you from that group of people. And I was like, oh, thank God. And that's the truth. So even if you're a person who's like, God, I've done a lot of horrible things, and like, because you were raised by a narcissist and you develop this ugly set of survival skills that turns you into someone you don't like, that's fine. You can you can change. It's fine. There's hope for you. As long as you have effective empathy, as long as you can look and put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel their pain, you don't worry about it. There's hope for all of you. Like, don't feel bad about it. You can change and you're going to be okay. Right. That's why I want people to understand the very distinct difference between effective empathy being inside you and it being absent, because you can't grow empathy, and the people that lack it will be forever dangerous, lurking amongst us. Right. And that's a small percentage of people that we need to just recognize the patterns. Oh yeah, Jen, I've done a lot of work, and now it's all becoming very relevant. So I'm not like ashamed of it either. Like I have PTSD. Like I've gone through a lot of stuff as a child that I blamed on myself, but now I realize like it's fine. And being able to talk about it now and share it is going to help a lot of people. So that's why I'm saying this now, because I want people to understand who Trump is and the difference between being married to a narcissist, right? Reactive abuse. People without empathy can turn you into an ugly person. The things you do to survive the proximity to that person, right? You're ashamed of. It's gross, but that's okay. You can come back from that. You can't come back from the complete lack of empathy. Right? And that was my fear, is like who I became to survive, I could never recover from. But you can. Look at me go. Only 6 years of therapy, and now I'm like brimming with empathy and understanding. And just to say, like, I do think there are people with lack of empathy that are not harming people, right? Like, you can cognitively understand you are causing harm and stop, right? There's different degrees of harm, but I just want people to understand, because this is not going to go away until we stop it. So the more we understand Trump, the more we learn about it, the more we understand collective narcissism, the shared fantasy that Trump has MAGA in, the more we can start to dismantle it. Thanks, Gumps. I appreciate you. I'm proud. Thanks. I'm proud to know you. And here's the best part. Like, the more I heal, the more I'm honest, like, I attract the most awesome people into my life. It's like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You just keep working on yourself. Like, yeah, you told me like years ago I'd be here. I just thought, like, I was raised to think every little bit of information you give up about yourself, you're giving away your power, and like it will then be used against you, So it's like when I worked in corporate America, where sociopaths and psychopaths thrive, and narcissists, people used to joke, like, no one knows who Felice is. They'd be like, we were in a meeting with General Motors and Felice was a Republican. And then we were in a meeting with Ford and she was a Democrat, and no one knows who she is. Because that was how I was raised, was like, don't tell anyone who you are. Because if you're honest about who you are, it will be used against you at some point. And now I realize the way back to each other is just empathy and showing who you are. It's the coolest thing ever because it's super simple. So anyways, one day I'm going to do more pieces on this and pieces on narcissism, because I think the more I interact with people online and do research on the prevalence of narcissism in society, whether it's at work, you had a narcissistic boss, or you dated a narcissist, or you're the child of a narcissist, like, it has affected all of us in different ways. So the information that I have gathered over time, I think, can be really helpful to make sense of, like, oh, is that what happened? And so I'll continue to share it, because I think, like I said, Trump is not going to stop. We're going to have to stop him. And I think a way to do that is to understand who we're dealing with, because it's complex, but it's also super simple. And once you start seeing, I always say, I see the world in patterns. And I think it was Deb who said, yeah, the patterns of abuse, right? Like, remember Jay? I used to do lives with. He's always like, "Oh, like I'm not going to name names, but some of the people that were recently called out for being predators, like I was like, oh, that's a predator," and Jay's like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "I just know, like, because I was raised by them and I can see them now, like." And so it's just the more you understand, the more you educate yourself, and the more you start to recognize those patterns, the lack of empathy, then I think, you can make sense of it and not have to be like, God, why do I feel like I'm being blindsided by these people? Like they're popping up out of nowhere. Yeah, Jennifer said, also realized that I can't work in corporations and have limited myself to mid to small size. That's great advice. Like the larger the corporation and the higher up you move, the more you will have to turn off your empathy. And that's why I'm saying why people with a lack of empathy will always succeed in corporate America, will succeed particularly in conservative politics, because you have to be able to know, hey, I'm doing not just harm to one person. Like it's not like I'm a narcissist in a relationship abusing one person. Like we are talking about mass harm. I'm a corporation causing mass harm. I'm a politician writing legislation that is like, look at this bill and what they are taking from us. That's why Fax and I thought it was super important to go through the budget this morning first. Understand, this is group narcissism. This is malignant narcissism. They are taking from people that have nothing to enrich themselves. And that, you tell me, like, and it talks about, and I want to explain, there's the malignant narcissist leading the group. And then it's like, who are the rest of the spineless conservatives? Those are what they call vulnerable narcissists, right? They're insecure people, insecure, unsure people who are looking for a leader, right? They call them the vulnerable narcissists, the spineless people following Trump. Right? Like all of this has to come together, and they're concentrated on the right side of politics. Thank you guys for 200K. Okay, we're going to get off this subject because I could opine on it for years. Diane, thank you for the $25. I'm 66 years old and have learned more world history and have never felt more validated. Oh my, Diane, I already cried. I've already swallowed like 3 crying moments and have never felt more validated from listening to you than all my prior years. What? Thank you for your passion to learn and sharing knowledges, and basically for being you. You put the in insanity. That is literally the nicest thing anyone ever said to me. W. Diane. And that's like the beauty of just, yeah, like the more I just am who I am, the more people find me who like need to and understand what I'm saying. Isn't that the most beautiful thing about the internet? Like, it's just be you and you'll attract like-minded people that need to hear what you're talking about. So thank you. And I needed to, like, I always talk about, this is like a symbiotic relationship. Like I talk about my family and understand that, like, and this is the message. I very much love my mother. I talk about how she's a malignant narcissist, how she's done a lot of harm to me. I love my mother. My father, imagine who would be married to my mother, right? Not in any way innocent in any of this, also guilty of a lot of things. I love my parents very much. And I think like once, and I mean, they pass away from old age, like that will be probably when I'm truly the most free. Like what I've told myself is like that this will be the last of my abusive relationships. Just to say, like my parents have stopped the majority of it. Well, relatively speaking, compared to who they were. But yeah, like you are my family. Like the TikTok, and when I started being able to say this is who I am, and people were like, "Oh, me too." That was when I felt seen for the first time in reality. So I always say, like, it's not like I have another, like, you guys are my family. So just understand that the way you're like, thank you for saying this. Like, thank you for being here and seeing and validating me. Because, It's symbiotic. We're keeping each other alive mutually. Okay, so we'll table this, but we can also have this discussion many more times in the future, and we will, because the more we understand people like Donald Trump, and not just Donald Trump, but the vulnerable narcissistic traits of the people that follow him, the more we can make a plan to free ourselves from this nightmare that we are in. But that being said, I want to show a couple things, like just completely change the subject. A veteran made this video, and this is just to the budget, like the budget that Fax and I were going over, and I could go over it again. I probably will give a resource source of where everyone can find it, which actually, oh yeah, I forgot. This morning, in the Discord, if you're in the Discord, I sent to everyone a gift article from the Washington Post that breaks down the entire budget that's going to rob us all. It's going to rob us and give to the rich. And it goes through every department, the cuts, the highlights of those cuts, department by department. I think the only two departments that they're adding more is, of course, defense and transportation. So other than that, everything is being cut and there's a breakdown. So I'll touch on that article. But I saw this video of a veteran speaking, and I want to show it to you because I can't imagine what it's like to be a veteran and seeing these massive cuts to veterans, to what veterans need, while also just saying, oh, we're going to spend billions upon billions on a dome over the United States. So people like Elon Musk and other billionaires can make money off defense contracts. But veterans who fought for this country are being denied basic necessities. And this guy is a veteran who's basically pleading to other veterans. I don't know if anyone's seen this. I think it went pretty viral. His name is Dodgers.220. And I'll try to see if I can enlarge it later, but I just want to, he's doing what Matt does. And the reason I started working with USMC Angry Veteran is appealing to other veterans to say, hey, like, do the right thing. We all have an oath that we need to follow. Do the right thing.
I don't know if anyone's going to watch this. I don't know if it'll get 1 view, 10 views, 1 million views. But I just felt like I had to do something. I'm a veteran. I served in the Air Force. I took an oath to defend the Constitution of this country. And in that oath, that's the very first part. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. After that, I swear that I would accept the orders of the President as Commander-in-Chief and also of the officers appointed above me. But there's also a fourth part to that, and it's what I call the bookends to the oath. The first one, to the Constitution. And the last one, the fourth part, it mentions the UCMJ. And to those of us that are familiar with it, to the veterans and to the active duty members, that stands for the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. And there's a part in the UCMJ that gives every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman, and now Space Force the duty to not obey an illegal order. I'm asking my fellow veterans to stand with the Constitution. And I'm asking all of our active duty brothers and sisters, remember your oath. We are not your enemy. We depend on you to protect us. And I give you my word. I will stand beside you if you fight for us. Please remember your oath.
I I think, Matt, like when I started doing lives with USMC Angry Veteran, it's like, and started, us exchanging ideas off the app and just talking, is when I really understood like what this man is talking about. And again, I tried to say it before. Here, can you guys see, for some reason, TikTok does this. It is Dodgers. Here, because you guys can see my chat. All right, here. This is his Dodgers. .20. Here, I'm going to pin his TikTok name if you want to follow this gentleman. This is it. Dodgers.20. That's his TikTok name. I'm not sure any other information because, again, I found this on X. Someone had reposted. But this is what Matt is always talking about. And like when I was just going through all these psychological studies that came out of the Nuremberg trials, the most important takeaway is just understand I was following orders is not a defense. It is not a defense. If you're in the military, you're loyal to the Constitution. I was following orders is not a defense, right? That's what this man is explaining. Do the right thing. Your job is to protect American citizens, not be weaponized against us. Miller, is that his 20th account? I know. I hope not. Has he been banned that many times? But that's what, I just love the way he said, the plea of this man, just please, if you'll stand with us, I'll stand with you. Like, I was following orders is not a defense in the end. And I feel like it's not, we can talk about this in the military, but think about conservatives in Congress, like I'm saying, the vulnerable narcissists that follow the malignant narcissist. None of this is a defense. Well, I was scared of Trump. I was listening to an anonymous, I was reading an article where an anonymous Republican in Congress was quoted saying 1/3 of conservatives are scared to speak out against Trump, or because they'll be primaried. 1/3 are scared. I can't even remember, but it was like excuse after excuse. None of this is a defense. People's constitutional rights are being violated. I was scared I would be primaried. That is the wrong side of history. That's the wrong side of history to be on. I was scared I wouldn't get to sit in Congress anymore and accept and place, informed trades that beat the market. Like, I can't take anymore. Like, if you think a defense is, I was scared I wouldn't retain my position of mediocre amounts of power. Like, oh yeah, it's like 1/3 are scared they'll be primaried, 1/3 are scared of like Trump supporters and, violence. And then I can't remember what the third, but none of them are good. It's like none of those are excuses that are going to save you. Yes. Okay. Yes, this is what I want to get. I want to get into some crypto corruption. Wait, I'm just trying to make sure. Hold on. Oh, before we get into crypto corruption, let me get into one other thing that's important. I don't know if anyone saw this. I've seen a couple videos about this now, but I just want to say this. I've talked a lot about Oklahoma. If anyone in here is from Oklahoma, sorry, this is your life. But this is important and worth talking about. If you guys aren't aware, the self-proclaimed Christian nationalist, the superintendent of public instruction in Oklahoma, is now changing Oklahoma public school curriculum so that they will teach that the 2020 election was shady. Like, this is now what they're going to teach as history in Oklahoma to public school students. This is real life. I'm not just saying this. And I would say, if you want to read more about this, please do. I'm so sick of it. This is the superintendent of public instruction. This is the guy that spent millions of dollars on Trump Bibles. Meanwhile, Arizona has moved up from 49th in education rankings to 48th, not because we did anything to get better, but because Oklahoma's math and reading scores fell. So we moved ahead of them. Whilst Ryan J. Walters continues to do all this BS, kids in Oklahoma are learning less. And I mean, that's the numbers have borne that out. And now we're going to teach that the State House Democrat argues new standards will insert an extremist political agenda into our public education system that will cost Oklahomans tax. We're now spending your taxpayer money in Oklahoma to massage Trump's delusional ego and teach that he won the 2020 election. This is not an exaggeration. This is what is happening. I just want to make sure I covered all the important things. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. Oh, God. I don't even want to get in. Okay. I have so many things to cover on this on crypto scams, but this is, I think I am showing you a Huffington Post was all the rage, and now it's like, who owns Huffington Post? Like AOL? I don't know. But remember when it was all the rage? I believe that someone that works for Huffington Post did break this story originally. So I tried to find the original author. Company boasts, this is and I don't know if I blame them, right? This is, I have 20 different articles to talk about today about Trump's crypto grifting and how he's being enriched by companies. This is a trucking company who has filed papers with the Security and Exchange Commission saying, hey, we need to lobby for fairer policies. So we are taking out a loan for like $20 million to invest in Trump's meme coin, to buy Trump's crypto grift coin, to try to get favorable trade policy as it relates to the trucking industry. And they're not hiding it. They're saying, hey, our margins are failing. We're going to go out of business. This is our last ditch effort to like keep our company alive, is getting $20 million that they're admittedly going to bribe Trump with. Publicly, they are saying this to the SEC, and I don't know if it's a bad argument. Like, it might be completely legitimate. And I found a video of someone. Here, let me find it real quick before I just scroll through a bunch of stuff. I found a great video of a guy kind of explaining this rather than me like reading an article out loud.
A company called Freight Technologies just announced to the SEC that it will be rolling out a $20 million bond offering and using the proceeds of it to buy Trump coin for the explicit purpose of buying influence with the Trump administration over trade policy. This is from an explosive news story by my former colleague SV Date over at the Huffington Post. This is the kind of story that over the last 200 plus years would be the kind of revelation that would lead to wall-to-wall coverage and likely to impeachment proceedings and possibly even a successful impeachment conviction. It's incredible. It is a company saying that its intention is to borrow $20 million and use the proceeds to bribe the president of the United States to win favorable policy for its company. And I sympathize with this company. It's a trucking logistics company. They are facing an existential crisis with Trump's tariffs. And the Trump administration has set up what is effectively a bribery bucket. And so companies that don't put Trump coin, into the bribery bucket are going to have less of a chance to influence policy. They reference in their press release along with this that there's this auction going on where the top 20 or top 100 or whatever Trump coin purchasers will get an opportunity to have FaceTime with Donald Trump. And so they're telling the SEC that this is a legitimate use of money that they're going to borrow from the public in a bond offering. If this company goes under, they're filing bankruptcy. Better take a look at where you are in the lineup of whether or not you're going to get paid back. So if you're thinking about investing in these bonds, I would say be a little bit careful. But in any event, just utterly incredible, unprecedented levels of corruption from the Trump administration here. I'm right.
I mean, and do you blame them? And let me just, so you heard a lot of things there, which go into, that's when I say like, oh, I have 20 different articles and facts is saying, oh, Felice is going to dig into, I've always been, if there's one thing I think Chris Murphy is always nailing, that's Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. he always is saying, like, the number one issue with Trump is the crypto grift. And I wholeheartedly agree. If you don't believe that, it's because you don't understand the nature of what's going on inside the crypto grift. But hold on. I have a whole section I need to go over. Let me find it. Let me just. I was gonna. Ew. It's all related. It's like tied into the budget and crypto grift. Sorry, I'm just trying to decide. And I'll show you this. This is an article that takes 26 minutes to listen to. If you really wanted to, like, it's so detailed that it's hard. The New York Times has a team of people that full time are tracking the spidery web of Trump's crypto grift, because it's that in depth. If you are looking, I think it's 26 minutes to listen to. That's how detailed this is. You can screenshot this now, but this is a New York Times article that came out a couple of days ago. And if you're looking if you want to do a deep technical dive into Trump's grift, I would recommend this article. I mean, it is so detailed that I had to listen to it like 4 times. It's hard to even follow, like the spider web of corruption. But if it's secret deals, foreign investments, presidential policy changes, the rise of Trump's crypto firm, which if you ever see the words World Liberty Financial, that is the firm that's running Trump's crypto grift. But I'm not going to put us through that. But I want to show you what you heard that man referencing, or about that trucking company who's like, hey, we're trying to survive. We need to have the ear of the president. We're lobbying for these policies. And whoever donates the most gets what? If you haven't heard about this is a Politico article. Trump. Oh, I'm like, why can't you guys see it? Sorry. Trump to host dinner with top holders of his meme coin. That's what these people are saying. They're saying we need to finance a $20 million investment into Trump's meme coin so we can be at this dinner, so we have a chance to have our needs met, so our company doesn't dissolve or go bankrupt. Right? That's Trump to host dinner with top holders of his meme coin. That's what we are talking about. Top owners of President Donald Trump's crypto meme coin will soon be invited to dine with the president at his Washington area golf club, the company behind the venture announced Wednesday. At the intimate private dinner, Trump will discuss the future of crypto, according to the page on his meme coin's website promoting the event. This is the access they're talking about, right? If you bribe him enough, and you need something from him and the price is right, you get to go to this dinner and lobby him. And this truck company is like, we're risking everything we have to try to get to this dinner to lobby him for the policy changes we need so our company can survive. At the intimate private dinner, Trump will discuss the future of crypto. It's another prominent example of Trump mixing politics and his personal business. I mean, this is corruption at its finest. The meme coin's price surged following the announcement on Wednesday. So Trump announced this dinner. All of a sudden, he's bribed over and over and over in real time. The meme coin's top 220 average holders for May 23rd to May 12th will gain an invite. So whoever bribes Trump with the most money gets to be at, everyone's like, is this real life? This is depressing. It is. You get a special VIP White House tour too. I mean, can you imagine if a congressperson was like, whoever bribes me the most, you get a tour? And this is all happening out in the open. Yes, this is a violation of everything. Everyone's like, oh, isn't this wrong? Yes, it's very, very wrong. This is unbelievably wrong and is happening right in front of our eyes. And I wish that was the worst of it, but I'm about to show you some more. The actual, I don't know what's bad anymore, but this is what I think is the worst. If you want, this is a Rolling Stone article. Trump crypto corruption intensifies as Abu Dhabi firm invests $2 billion. $2 billion. I don't even know what to say about this except for, this was May 1st. So when was May 1st? Around Wednesday of last week, same time everyone else. Yeah. Donald Trump and at a crypto conference in the UAE, Eric Trump and Zach Witkoff announced that Trump's family stablecoin, World Liberty Financial, will be the vehicle for the state-backed Emirati investment firm MGX to invest $2 billion into Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange. Trump was just bribed to the tune of $2 billion by Abu Dhabi is one of the Emirates of the United Arab Emirates. The announcement comes weeks after Binance founder and former CEO Changpeng Zhao claimed he had no discussions of the Binance US deal with anyone. The transaction comes with a host of ethical baggage. For starters, World Liberty Financial, a decentralized exchange inspired by Donald J. Trump, is co-created and managed by Trump's family, as well as that of Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, who has been functioning like a shadowy Secretary of State. I mean, is this forming? This is literally a way to directly bribe Trump for whatever you want. If you have money, you can get out of any crime. You can have anything you want. You can have citizenship. $5 million, here comes the gold card for U.S. citizenship, right? This does not benefit anyone, not MAGA and not us. I'm not going to go through all this, but you guys can hear. I actually have somebody, I think I have a clip explaining this better. Yes, I do. I love Sawyer Hackett. He's my favorite. If you guys are on, I always suggest everyone get Substack. I'm on Substack as a girl has no name, but that's where you can follow independent journalists. I love Sawyer Hackett. And if you want to see his name real quick, it's just at Sawyer Hackett. And he made a little post about this because talking about it sickens me.
This might be the most corrupt thing ever done by a US president. This week, a foreign government announced that they would make a $2 billion business deal using the Trump family's cryptocurrency coin. I've told you about how Trump has used crypto to enrich himself and his family, including creating his own crypto meme coin and using the full powers of the presidency to boost the crypto industry. But this week, Zach Witkoff, the head of World Liberty Financial, the Trump family's crypto firm, announced that an Emirati state-owned business would make a $2 billion business deal using a stablecoin created by Trump's firm. And before I go any further, Zach Witkoff, the head of Trump's crypto firm, he's the son of Steve Witkoff, the White House envoy to the Middle East. This deal puts the Trump family in direct business with a company owned by a foreign government, business that will net the Trump family hundreds of millions of dollars at a minimum. This deal also creates a formal link between Trump's World Liberty Financial and Binance, a company that's been under government oversight since 2023 when it admitted to breaking federal money laundering laws. The deal was announced at a major crypto conference in the UAE during a panel featuring Witkoff and Eric Trump, Donald Trump's least favorite son. Also on the panel was a guy named Justin Sun, a Chinese billionaire who was charged by the SEC for manipulating.
I did a whole thing on Justin Sun. Like, this is a man that Trump pardoned who should be in prison because he could pay for
business
it.
That will net the. The deal was announced at a major crypto conference in the UAE during a panel featuring Witkoff and Eric Trump, Donald Trump's least favorite son. Also on the panel was a guy named Justin Sun, a Chinese billionaire who was charged by the SEC for manipulating the price of his own cryptocurrency. Last November, just 3 weeks after Trump was elected, Justin Sun purchased $30 million in crypto tokens from World Liberty Financial, a purchase which put millions of dollars directly into Trump's pocket. And just 3 months later, Trump's SEC sent a letter to a federal judge asking them to drop the cases against Justin Sun. And they did. And today, Sun is World Liberty's top investor. So let's connect the dots here. A foreign government investing $2 billion into a deal with a company that admitted to money laundering using Trump's personal crypto firm, a firm advised by a charged crypto scammer who's putting money directly into Trump's pocket. This is exactly what authoritarian corruption looks like. Call your member of Congress.
I mean, and that's why I don't want to just read it. I don't even like talking about this, but it is I wholeheartedly agree with Chris Murphy. The most corrupt thing happening is Trump grifting and enriching himself in front of our eyes. And it used to be like, do you remember how I started this live? If you were here at the beginning, by the way, if you're not following me, this is not my regular account. This is my backup account. I'm banned for 24 hours because some guy said he was going to grape me and I pointed it out. So please do follow me here, because if I continue getting these types of bans, we're going to be spending more time here, and then we're all prepared and can hang out here together. Real quick, Cassandra, thank you so much for the $5. You are, oh my God, what is up with these? Do not make me cry. You are so brave, so brilliant. You are empowering. You are a phenomenal human, and I appreciate you. I'm an AZ too, so I'd love to connect with you. I look forward to watching you daily. I'm not going to say Cassie Rainbows is my handle. If you, I will, is my handle if you so happen to come across me, I will. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to try right now. I will. I'll follow you. Wait, where's Cassie? Are you in the chat? Can you raise your hand and then I can follow you? That is so kind. Thank you so much. I am always looking for a friend. Oh, that is wrong. He should have been banned. I know you were there, Navy, but we're talking about a person who was talking about essaying me. And I just was like, oh, hey, Cassie, everyone follow Cassie. It's private. We can all request, and if Cassie will decide who's worthy, I like that even more. It's it's exclusive. I love being denied. I love when people tell me no. It makes me feel better. I don't know. I'm a masochist. I was raised by a narcissist. I love abuse. It's kind of my thing. Thank you so much, Cassie. That is the kindest thing. And yes, we should be friends. I have no friends in real life. I live online at this point, but I'm getting just about healthy enough where I can live in the real world. That's what my therapist has encouraged me now to start living in the real world. I have to come up with an action plan. I'm in therapy twice a week. And part of that plan is that I stop living online and make real life friends. So maybe I'll just be on live and you guys can watch me attempt to make friends. It'll be great. But yeah, okay, back to the crypto, nightmare that we're in. This is what, so wait, what? Yes. So remember when I started the live saying that $10 million DeSantis had, 67 million had been defrauded from Florida taxpayers. And that was supposed to go back into Florida taxpayer government accounts. And 10 million never went into those accounts. It went to his wife, Casey DeSantis' Shady charity. And then it was moved from there to two separate, I want to get this right, dark money accounts that aren't required to report, so 5 million to one, 5 million to the other. Then it showed up again. It was moved a third time, but only 8.5 million showed up in a Ron DeSantis PAC account. So still we have some missing money, and we have this is how Trump used to be bribed, right? So understand, Trump has spent years thinking, oh, we can use the blockchain. Trump knows who's bribing him, but we don't know, right? And that's the beauty of beauty or absolute corruption of what Trump is up to, right? It used to be in Trump's first term, right? If you wanted to bribe Trump, you would do what? You would rent out a block of hotel rooms. And then it was easy for reporters to kind of notice what was happening because there would be all these Saudis in the lobby of Trump hotels or whatever. That was a lot easier to get financial records. Crypto is Trump's way of being untraceable, of being bribed by whoever, whenever, wherever wants to bribe him. And this is what should keep us all up at night. And don't get me wrong, when I hear people like Gavin Newsom being like, oh, don't worry about people being deported, that's a distraction, said a white man who has a lot of money to offend lawyers. I never think that if you are not concerned about being disappeared, I suggest you don't have melanin. Especially as someone of native-born Phoenician in Arizona, like proximity to the border. If you're not concerned about being disappeared, I do think we should all be concerned about that. So that's like, I don't agree with people who are like, oh, it's all a distraction. Yeah, that's easy to say. If you're not about to be tackled on your front lawn, taken away, never to be heard from again. But I do think Trump denying due process and committing atrocities against human beings who have every right to due process on U.S. soil is a very good distraction from the fact that this man is robbing us all blind, robbing us blind by giving corporations and billionaires tax cuts while they steal from us, pretending that Doge was doing something, but really that seems to be just a large exfiltration of data. That if I had to guess, or like I played that clip of Rachel Maddow, will probably be used to form a database to consolidate authoritarian rule and punish us all. Like that's, if you didn't see, and I think I mentioned, was it this? I think maybe it was on Faxes Live. Friday, Trump sued. Essentially, like he has his solicitor general, who, if you're ever like, who's the solicitor general? If you ever hear someone who you're like, is that RFK Jr.? Nope. That's Trump's solicitor general, John Sauer. I used to love to listen to oral arguments until I heard the lawyer arguing in Trump's favor for immunity in front of the Supreme Court. I was like, what the is this? If you hear him, you'll know. Now that I've said this to you, you're going to be like, oh, like, you're going to be like, what the is going on with that guy's voice? It's literally too painful to listen to. That's our Solicitor General. And Sauer, not like sour milk, but Sawyer. It's like a cross. It's either sour or Sawyer, or a cross there between Saeure. Auer. Yeah, John Sauer. But Trump is suing the Supreme Court. Like, it's not enough. All the data Elon Musk has stolen, now we know think tanks are doing real, actual statistical analysis that show Elon Musk, let's say he did save us 150 billion. He's not even at half that in actual receipts. He's at somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 billion. But the costs are already at 135 billion. So Doge has saved us. MAGA, listen to me. Zero money, you fools. No money. No money. You did nothing except all of our data, all of these information silos that existed in the government. The IRS had information. The Social Security Administration had information. Medicaid had information. There were all of these silos and metadata that the U.S. government held. And now all of that data has been exfiltrated, and the richest man on earth, who collects, let's count it, $8 million a day in taxpayer money. And that's before the military or the other military contracts he's trying to currently award himself. He's trying to award himself, like when I said we went through Trump's budget on Faxes Live. And the only two things that are increasing in the budget are the obviously the military, defense, and then the transportation. Why? Elon Musk is trying to develop a new air traffic control system. Should the richest man in the world, who has now exfiltrated all of our data, also control U.S. airspace? I want MAGA. I know you are lost. You are following a malignant narcissist. You're in a shared fantasy where you're special. But does that sound like a good idea to you? That the richest man in the world, who just stole all of our data, is now going to control U.S. airspace? You guys are geniuses. Great job, though. You guys have literally ushered in the apocalypse. And let's all, this is the time to just use your facial muscles and smile, laugh so we don't cry. Brianna, thank you so much for the $24 on Venmo. $24 for the ridiculous 24-hour ban. Keep fighting the fight and never give up. You're so damn brave. And this is a reminder, if I disappear, please look for me. Contact my brother. His name's Andrew. He's a lawyer. If I disappear, look for me immediately. I am not meaning to. Yeah, I trust you guys. I mean that wholeheartedly. Thank you so much, Brianna. And I will fight the good fight. And then when I disappear, find me. I mean, or just, hold vigil outside the horrific camp. Or maybe some of us will be in the same camp. You never know, we could all be together under his eye. We could all be together somewhere. And I'm talking to the ladies. You know what I'm saying? We could be in that RFK camp where he said none of us need any medication. We just need sun, and that will cure all of our problems. You never know where we're going. Oh, God, I love when I start talking and then it's my line of logic. This is what I'm talking about. This is Friday. Trump asked the Supreme Court to let Doge access sensitive Social Security data. So all of the data Elon Musk has stolen and the zero savings Doge has yielded, right? He has cost us. So far, a think tank has determined at minimum 135 million. I think if you look at, and again, doge.muskwatch.com is auditing the Doge wall of receipts, which Elon Musk can say, I think he's claiming 155 billion, but the actual verified cuts, including real estate, everything, fired federal workers, is at 60 something billion. And he's already cost us 135 billion, which it will end up much larger, I promise. It's just the way research works. We haven't begun to tally the damage this weirdo has done. He stole all of our data, but apparently they need some more. It's not enough yet. And they are trying to leverage the Supreme Court into, I guess they need more metadata on all of us. This should chill you to the bone. Now let's move on to the next terrifying. Oh, actually, let's do a little piece of good. This isn't good news, but we don't have good news. So let's just see what I consider good news. The resistance is alive and well. I do love watching this piece. It's like this piece that's done in Europe of them. There's a huge boycott, which no, I don't want us all to go bankrupt. We are about to be in a very bad way, which we'll get to after this. But whatever it takes to leverage Trump into stopping the madness. Europe is refusing to buy any American products.
So before you would have come in and you would have taken these chips.
I used to take this one, but now, I took this one.
Across Europe, a quiet protest is playing out in supermarket aisles. American products left untouched. The hashtag Boycott Trump is gaining traction as Facebook groups rally Europeans to push back against US policies with their wallets. Michel joined a French group in March.
As long as we had aggressive policy of American administration, we want to make pressure to say, stop it.
His group even provides an app called De-Trumpify Yourself that lets consumers know if a company's funding traces back to the United States.
Fanta, I wonder if it is. So we just use the app and it says, yes, it's
American.
So American. Well, we'll try with that. We look like
this is a very French brand.
Very French, but sometimes we have surprised. Yes.
Good,
so
we can buy it. But sometimes you get surprises because you find that a company that you thought was French has in fact been bought by an American group, and that's the point of the app.
Exactly.
One recent survey in France found that 6 out of 10 people support consumer boycotts of US goods. The poll also showed that the hardest hit American brands included Tesla, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Victoria's Secret. But it's not just products. Travel to the US from Europe is also down. In March, visits dropped 17% compared to the same time last year.
It's changed the way we travel. It's changed the way we consume. There's hesitation and fear about going to the United States.
So Gillen, who asks us not to use her last name as she has family in the United States, joined a small group of American protesters on Thursday.
Just here in Paris, there have been 3 anti-Trump protests in as many weeks, including this one, at the heart of what is the traditional day of demonstration here in Paris, the May Day protest, with a decidedly American feel. Now, this group include not just Americans who live here, but also some of their European allies and American tourists who've just taken a day off of their vacation to make their voice heard.
I'm here for my grandparents, who were immigrants from Italy, and there was prejudice against them, and they were very, very proud to be in America, and I'm not sure they would be today.
Well, of course they wouldn't. Nobody's proud to be here at this point. Like, it's just, we just are existing and no one should come here. And I want to show you, because when I was explaining the crypto grift of the World Liberty crypto grift, you kept hearing Zach Witkoff, which is Steve Witkoff's little boy or whatever. I want to show you what Steve Witkoff is up to. And this is just a thread, not to scare the absolute ass out of anyone, but this is the guy who's involved in the crypto grift along with Howard Nutlick. But this is a New York Post. So just to be clear, what's his name? Oh my God. What is the billionaire's name that owns son's name is Rupert Murdoch. Yeah. Okay. Rupert Murdoch owns the New York Post, and he used to call the New York Post like a gossip rag, I can't remember how he described it, but he was like Park Avenue housewives, want to read it, kind of thing. I've always seen it as gossip. This is a New York Post article that this thread is made off of. This is about Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy. This is the man who, by the way, was in that Signal chat, who hangs out in the Kremlin, speaks not a lick of Russian, and if you want to know if his phone's been hacked, he was in both Signal chat. The answer is yes. New York Post, Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff is under sharp criticism. Despite lacking diplomatic experience, he has no experience. He's just a billionaire. He leads negotiations with, this is the new, oh my God. Why can't I remember his name? Who's the guy that pled guilty to, during the ties of the Trump campaign to Russia? What is that guy's name? Oh my God. You guys know what I'm talking about. The guy that pled guilty that has all the ties to Russia. Lev Parnas is not it. No, not Flynn. No, not Lev Parnas. No, Manafort. Thank you, Paul Manafort. This is Paul Manafort, but richer, right? Despite lacking diplomatic experience, no experience, just random billionaire, he leads negotiations with Russia alone, without U.S. diplomats, without security officials, and relies on Kremlin translators. He holds 2 key roles, leading the talks with Russia about the war in Ukraine and managing negotiations on Hamas and Iran. And what officials say, this overload and inexperience creates serious risks for U.S. foreign policy. In March, Witkoff said he secured a ceasefire with Hamas. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing. I just am laughing. Witkoff, I thought we had an agreement. Maybe I was duped. The deal collapsed 4 days later after Hamas changed its terms. Remember when everyone said Biden couldn't negotiate a ceasefire? Look at these losers now. Remember Trump on day 1, the war in Ukraine will end? Never let your MAGA relatives forget that. Never let it die. What day are we on? Why is the war in Ukraine? I'm so confused. I'm so confused about Trump's never-ending stream of incompetence that none of you can explain. Trump split negotiations. Kellogg works with Kyiv, Witkoff handles with Moscow. Experts say this blocks shuttle diplomacy and lets Russia push its agenda without balance. Oh, you think? Why would Trump let Russia push its agenda without balance? In a Tucker Carlson interview, Witkoff repeated Russian talking points. He does this. Witkoff is a parrot of Russian talking points, calling Donetsk, Luhansk, whatever, and Kherson Russian speaking. These are Russian. This is propaganda and lies. Russian speaking and justifying control based on staged referendums. This is where Putin says these are Russians. They're not. These are places that they've terrorized, pretended to take over, that are Ukrainian. Zelensky, Witkoff is spreading Russian narratives consciously or not. Officials criticize his failure to counter key Russian demands and using Kremlin interpreters in meetings. On Iran, Witkoff proposed allowing low-level uranium enrichment. Do you understand what uranium? Hey, let's just let them kind of develop nuclear capability, is what Witkoff said. Contradicting U.S. policy. He walked it back within 24 hours. John Bolton, Witkoff's Iran talks are a waste of oxygen. For once, I agree with John Bolton. Analysts warn Witkoff's lacks technical knowledge. Tehran uses engagement with the U.S. as cover from Israeli strikes, a risk that grows without stronger negotiations. The White House stands by him. Witkoff left a major business to serve, help secure releases like Mark Vogel's, and like Trump wants to stop unaliving and pursuing peace through strength. This is a New York Post article. Apparently now doing real journalism. And I could show you real articles about Steve Witkoff's complete incompetence. This is Paul Manafort reincarnate. A rich guy who works with /for Putin. There's no pushback. That's who he is. This is, if anyone wants to read this article, this is I guess the Washington Post or New York Post is now doing actual journalism. Steve Witkoff shouldn't be leading Iran, Russia negotiations, allies, and insiders say. If you want to look into it, this is where we come. Rupert Murdoch has the New York Post doing. That's when we're in a bad way. Oh, I know. I presented zero good news. I have real good news. Well, first, this is not good news. Sad, and just to be clear, Representative Jerry Connolly. I want him to be well. I know that he had been diagnosed with throat cancer and he was battling that, and I want him to be okay. So again, if you don't remember, I've been upset for a while now that AOC was overlooked. She tried to lead the Oversight and Accountability Committee in Congress, and then Nancy Pelosi, from a bed in Luxembourg or wherever she was when she fell down the stairs. Is it Luxembourg? She was either in Luxembourg or some other very small country. I feel like it started with an M. What's another small, very rich European country that's a tax shelter that starts with an M? I feel like it might start with an M. It's either Luxembourg or another tiny European, very rich. Was it Luxembourg? Where was she? Wherever she was. No, not Munich's a city, not Monaco. Where was Nancy Pelosi when she fell down the stairs? Just Google that and broke her hip. Where was Pelosi when she broke her hip? Oh, it was Luxembourg. Okay. I was right the first time. So anyways, if you remember, Nancy Pelosi from a hospital in the tiny country of Luxembourg whipped votes against AOC to allow Jerry Connolly, who has throat cancer, right? I think the number one job of the chair of oversight and accountability is speaking out loud, which I'm not saying, like, Jerry, if you can do it, do it. But apparently he can't do it and is stepping down. And guess who is going to run for the position? It's not AOC, it's Jasmine Crockett. I'm serious. Hold on. Let me just show you this clip. Like, this, can you imagine how great our lives are about to be? Like, this is like Christmas.
But I am the vice ranker on the oversight committee, and if given an opportunity to lead, I am ready to go on day one.
And so you are throwing your hat in the ring for that?
If there is an election, he's not resigned his post, but we know that he's not seeking re-election, so it may be next term before that post opens.
Why do you think that you would be the best Democrat to take that position?
Because I think
which is essentially to fight the president and his agenda.
Exactly. It is. Listen, oversight has so much latitude. But beyond that, we are allowed to conduct investigations. We are allowed to send out subpoenas and get documents. And here's the deal. My legal experience, I think, helps me be able to kind of guide through that part. But one thing we've always done really well as Democrats is get down and do the work. But we've got to communicate what it is that we were able to get in that work and translate it. And so I think that I can not only do the work, but make sure that people understand this is why we're having these problems at the FDA. This is why we're having these problems at the VA. This is why we have planes that are falling out of the sky. It is to do the investigation, find out about these firings and how they are impacting us. The information that this administration wants to hide from the American people, I want to make sure I can shine what I am.
This is the worst news for the Conservative Party. Like, this is one of the most successful litigators that we have in Congress, and also one of the most effective communicators. Also, one of the people who does not live in fear, right? Like, bless Lisa Murkowski's heart. That's the Republican senator from Alaska. That's like, I'm terrified to stand up for Trump. Like, I know you're trying, and you're from a generation where you're not used to this, but Jasmine Crockett was built for such a time as this. Like, I don't know how else to say it other than, it's not like, I would love AOC too to lead oversight, but this is a lawyer. AOC is more of an economist. We need a lawyer who is about to lead us through the investigations. And what she said was, not only am I an amazing litigator who's going to run and oversee these investigations, she's saying, I'm also an effective communicator who's going to explain to people why this matters, right? Like, and that is, I just can't express to you guys, like, sometimes things just come to pass, that everything falls into place. And if there is a person, eventually Jasmine, and I've talked about this, like, my obsession. I was a Division I athlete. Like, Congress is better than the Super Bowl. Like, and if you don't know, oversight and accountability is kind of like the baby committee. And then Jasmine is not just on oversight and accountability. She's so good. Like, she's also on judiciary. Like, one day she will also chair judiciary. Right now, Jamie Raskin, who could one day end up on the Supreme Court, is the ranking member of judiciary. But, like, when I say, it's not that I don't think AOC should chair oversight, but, like, this is our person. Do you know what I mean? It's like all the pieces have clicked into place. Like, this is all of our hope. And I want to just provide the evidence for that, because I just want to show you. This is when I talked about that insane interview where Trump, was on Meet the Press with Kristen. I never fact check anyone, Welker. I just let people spread hours of misinformation and disinformation. And when people finally are held accountable for the rise of the next mustache man, I will be first in line. Yeah, that's you, Kristen Welker. Keep it up. Like, for-profit media is a disappointment, and people don't forget, Kristen Welker, that you're letting somebody spread lies. Let me tell you how I know that Jasmine Crockett is the perfect person to do, and we know everything she just said she was going to do, she will do. We know it. And let me just show you how I know. Because of all the people, why is Trump constantly mentioning her? And I never miss a Trump speech. I don't show them to you anymore because I don't want to spread Trump's delusional, idiotic lies any longer. But I still watch every time Trump speaks. I've watched it. And I have watched Trump for some reason. It's the weirdest thing in the last 3 months, repeatedly mention his fear of Jasmine Crockett. If you don't understand a narcissist, Trump is expressing that he's terrified of Jasmine Crockett. And he did it again on Sunday.
I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said, she's the future of the party. I said,
you're identifying low IQ people? Is that what you're identifying? I don't know if it's possible to know less than Donald Trump knows. I literally do not know if it is physically possible to retain less information than this man retains. Like, I don't think it actually is, but this is how I know. I have heard Trump say things like this probably 6 times in the last 2 months. And let me tell you, it used to be AOC, and I'm not saying AOC is not a formidable foe. She absolutely is. But let me tell you, like, I see Jasmine Crockett the same way I see Letitia James. Like, you guys were with me on live when I met Jasmine Crockett. Some of you were. And like, when I tell you that for someone who's like 5'4", when I say I've never been in the presence of someone that you can feel like the power coming off of them, Donald Trump is smart to be very clearly intimidated by Jasmine Crockett. Good luck to you, Trump. Keep trying to act like she's not smart. Maybe that desperation of you trying to convince people that she's dumb will work. I mean, you can't find your way out of a paper bag. I don't think anyone's going to take your advice. But yes, Jasmine Crockett, like when I say, I was raised and I was meant for a time like this, as was she. Like, she's going to take over the Oversight and Accountability Committee and never look back. And I just can't wait. And when he said this, and I'll show you after, I actually think I'll show you something in a second, but this is what she responded with. For you to be in charge of the whole country, you sure do have my name in your mouth a lot. Every time you say my name, you're reminding the world that you're terrified of smart, bold Black women telling the truth and holding you accountable. So keep talking. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Like, come on, Donald Trump. We smell your fear. Just like you're terrified of Letitia James. Like, come at her. Like, oh man, I just have never been more sure that Trump is going to lose at something in my life. I mean, the odds makers are not betting on Donald Trump. You'd have to be idiotic. And I want to show you something else interesting. So, I don't know, but I saw multiple posts saying things like this, that like when that was posted, like when that interview came out, a bunch of people on X started saying, did you guys see what Jasmine Crockett posted? But then when I went to look for it, it was gone. So I don't know if she posted it and it's gone, but I did see multiple posts saying, did you see this like compilation that Jasmine posted of Trump? But then it was no longer there when I went to look for it. But I'll show you, like, here's an example of one of the posts. Much watch. Jasmine Crockett posted a savage compilation video after Donald Trump absurdly called her a low IQ person earlier today. Your attempt to challenge my intelligence when your lack of intelligence is on full display as you ruin everything you touch is laughable in joy. Again, when I tried to find this post, it was gone, but I saw multiple people like quoting the same thing. So maybe she erased it, but watch this. Watch this. Hilarious.
Because our people here were stupid. They were stupid people. I don't know how you can be that stupid. How do you get to be president and you're stupid?
He's so stupid.
Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
It'll make your head spin with how stupid he is, how little knowledge he has of anything that's going on in the world.
He was saying that China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain.
Trump is the least intelligent president of the modern era.
It's completely mad. I mean, the guy says, I've sent an armada towards North Korea.
Very powerful.
And then we find 2 days later that it's actually sailing in the opposite direction.
And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or by injection inside or almost a cleaning.
Mitch McConnell called then-President Donald Trump stupid as well as being ill-tempered.
What we are actually also seeing is literally the way that Putin regards Trump as a useful idiot.
Trump is just stupid, and I think it's time we say it, and honestly, not just say it, we gotta proclaim it from the rooftops. Donald Trump is a stupid person, like dangerously stupid person. He's a moron.
He's a moron.
This tends to occur because a lack of self-awareness prevents them from accurately assessing their own skills. In other words, they are too stupid to know how stupid they are.
And by the way, I took my cognitive exam as part of my physical exam, and I got the highest mark, and one of the doctors said, "Sir, I've never seen anybody get that kind of, that was the highest mark." I don't know how you can be that stupid. How do you get to be president and you're stupid? Because our people here were stupid.
I mean, and imagine like when a narcissist, and like I could go back into the psychology of narcissism, but Donald Trump's worst fear is Jasmine Crockett. And like whenever a narcissist accuses you of something, they're accusing you of their worst fear or what they actually are, right? It's always a confession. Like, don't worry about Jasmine being unintelligent. She's in no danger of that. However, you, Trump, you are always guilty of what you accuse others of. It's the weirdest thing. And now, like, I just want to, speaking of unbelievably stupid things, because, you know, just for the, I know it's so obvious, but I can't stand Trump's lies, so I just need to do this. You've probably heard at this point that Donald Trump is saying he wants to reopen Alcatraz. And this morning, I was going to be like, oh, like it's a distraction. He doesn't mean it. But he has continued all day today to describe the reopening of Alcatraz, which I just want everyone to know. It was the most expensive prison in U.S. history to run. That's why it was closed. It generates $60 million a year as a park, at a tourist attraction in California. Donald Trump is absolutely delusional and uninformed in every way. He's an embarrassment to himself and all the people that support him. But because I love, is it Oh That's Rich? I love Oh That's Rich when he makes videos. Oh yeah, here it is. If you don't follow him, he's a great person to follow on TikTok. There's 2 H's. Oh That's Rich. 2 H's and O. Love him. And he made a video about this that was really good. So I like the way he uses facts to make Trump look dumb. Again, O with 2 H's, that's rich.
This might be my favorite breaking Trump news ever, as millions of Americans were sitting down for dinner with their families on a nice Sunday night. He was sitting on his toilet alone somewhere in the White House, furiously mashing out a Truth Social post about how he was instructing the FBI, DOJ, and DHS to reopen Alcatraz prison to house serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. So just Kyle Rittenhouse then. I just love how this came together, because you know he was talking to his cabinet and said, "I wish I had my own Seacot." And then he remembered seeing an old Clint Eastwood movie called Escape from Alcatraz. Now you might think, no, that came out 46 years ago, but yes, he was still 33 then. At that point, he thought, God damn it, I am a genius. Now I also love this because I just took a tour around Alcatraz Island. That place closed in 1963. It is a rolling pile of bricks. It's also a national park that generates $60 million in tourism revenue every year. The maximum capacity of only 336 people, Alcatraz closed in part because it was the most expensive prison in the country to operate. At the time of its closure, after adjusting for Trump Trump's inflation, it costs the equivalent of $105 per prisoner per day to keep the prison running. Assuming tourists don't want to visit there after it's been reopened, bit of rough math, you can see that he wants to erase $60 million in tourism revenue and replace it with at least $13 million a year in taxpayer-funded spending, which I would imagine would at least triple given that he wants to expand it, considering his illegal flights to El Salvador would have nearly filled the prison at its current capacity. So he wants to eliminate $60 million in annual revenue and increase government spending by tens of millions a year just to feed into the prison industrial complex. Of all the stupid Trump bullshit, this may be the stupidest Trump bullshit yet.
He has continued all day today. I was like, oh, people are going to like explain it and he's going to stop. He's not stopping. So just to be clear, like I saw several more posts today where he's continuing the stupidity. So in case you're like, oh, someone's going to tell him it doesn't make sense and then he's going to stop. He's not stopping. It's never going to stop. He's literally not capable. Like I guess I should never be surprised by Trump's own stupidity because it knows no bounds. And, and can we please get to 300K? Let's all tap the screen to 300K. Oh my gosh, I have to show you guys the most amazing thing, which you're going to be like, oh, wasn't this last week? No, Mike Lawler, that awful person, Republican in New York. He had another town hall last night after the last disaster of one 7 days ago, I think now. He had another one yesterday. Can I just show you the most amazing meme that's going around the internet? This is a social worker, a 60-year-old Jewish woman he had carried out of his town hall as she throws up peace signs, which is all over the internet. Mike Lawler is gross. Mike Lawler is in a swing district and refuses to stop Trump from cutting Medicaid and Medicare. Mike Lawler, if you live anywhere inside the state of New York, you need to be constantly putting pressure on Mike Lawler to be less disgusting. Mike Lawler is gross. I have a video to show you. I just love this picture, but it's actually, I wish it was not gross. It's much worse than that. I just will show you. He had his own private security, and then on top of that, cops. The first people are private security, and then there's cops on top of that.
I'm not raising you.
Because what it will do,
You are picking on an old Jewish woman. I'm not leaving.
it will bring economic investment back into the U.S.
And I am not
It will force. So, for instance, I'll give you a case in point.
Are you serious?
Prescription drug precursors. Do you want China to continue to be?
I'm not reporting that. I'm reporting this.
You're gonna have to kick out everybody.
The congressman is giving him his time. Let's get through these questions.
Because you keep interrupting as I'm trying to answer the question.
If you're like, oh, what's going on here? This is the third town hall Mike's had where he acts like a complete ass. Everybody hates Mike Lawler at this point. Conservatives, Democrats. Mike Lawler is gross and needs to go. He's in a swing district and won't protect his own constituents from Medicaid cuts. He is gross. And I was just, hold on, I want to see if I can find. Yeah, I was also, this meme's going around. This is how much he got. This, when we need to get money out of politics, this is how much money Mike Lawler's gotten from APAC. This is from Open Secrets. I always show you guys. If you ever want to look up how much anyone's gotten from any PAC or any industry, opensecrets.org, you can look it up. Mike Lawler's in a swing district where he needs to protect his constituents under Medicaid, Medicare. He's doing nothing of the sort. Mike Lawler is gross. I don't know how else to say it, except I think pretty much everyone in New York now might agree with me. He just continues to be the grossest person. Like, it's seemingly unending. And it's like, now he's bringing his own private security to accost 60-plus-year-old Social Security workers who were sitting in their seats doing nothing. And he's having them carried out. Imagine how tiny your ego is and whatever else is attached to your body to be that threatened by just a woman sitting in her seat. It is the strangest thing. I can't imagine, Mike Lawler, bless your heart. You must be in a real embarrassing situation. And I don't want to fearmonger. So I found some, at all about the situation we're in with tariffs, but I'll say this. Either this week, Trump stops this nonsense with China and does a 180, or we have a very bleak future here in the United States. We are in a trade war we can't win. I don't want to fearmonger, so I was figuring out the best way I can just convey this information to you so I don't have to hear people say, you're making a bunch of stuff up and this isn't true. So I found somebody who runs the Los Angeles Port Authority. That's the people that receive the ships with the containers from China with all the stuff. And I will just have this gentleman who runs the Port of Los Angeles explain to you, right? And I just want to be clear, this was last, I believe, Wednesday. So while you're hearing this, just know his name's Gene Soroka. He runs the ports in Los Angeles. And I am not fear-mongering. I'm just the man who runs the ports and receives the ships with the containers from China is just going to tell you the situation that Trump now has us all in. And again, MAGA, I just want to commend you on your excellent discernment and decision-making skills. You firing up, whatever happens, don't read anything, don't learn to do basic math, just keep going. Blindly follow a grifter. Why not? It's going so well for us all at this point. Why turn back now? You're doing such a great job. Oh, and I think my doorbell I think I have to sign for a package. So perfect timing. Again, this is the guy that runs the ports of Los Angeles that received the ships with the containers from China with all the things.
Just describe for us, let's take a beat, really frame it for us, how much volume has just dropped off in the last few weeks?
Yeah, about a third of the import volume, which means give or take about 50,000 20-foot equivalent units gone off the arrivals coming in next week.
So from next week is when you expect to see this really hit?
That's correct, and that matches up. The announcement's back on April 2nd, then on April 8th, a little bit of a change on everybody ex-China, Mexico, Canada, and those arrivals are coming at us this weekend.
We'll, of course, dedicate time to your port, but I'm just wondering how you're anticipating this rolls and ripples through the economy from here, how it hits trucking, when this turns up on the shelf. What's the distance, the time from when you see a drop-off in volume and when we, as consumers, see the shortages?
Right. So CEOs are telling me, hit the pause button, right? I'm not going to import anymore at these kind of prices. Let's wait and see. I don't know if it's going to be 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks till I get some clarity. Then hiring. off the table for right now. Capital investment, pause. And the retailers are telling me that realistically, with even the 10%, I'm going to have to pass it on to the consumers.
So how much is this really coming from all over? It's not just about China. This is about really global trade coming to a standstill until there is a much greater degree of certainty and a much lower tariff rate than even the baseline that's been put out there.
Yeah, when I was last with you all, Lisa, I said global trade's going to slow, economies will follow, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Back in November, so many of us were wringing our hands about 4% inflation. We've just added 10 percentage points to imports coming out of Southeast Asia for our port, and these unbelievable numbers out of China.
How much are you going to see a real decline in dock workers if this goes on?
Yeah, this is the question. So the trucker hauling 4 or 5 containers today, next week, she probably hauls 2 or 3. The dock workers are no longer going to see overtime and double shifts. They're going to probably work less than a traditional work week, starting right off the bat. Every 4 containers mean a job. So when we start dialing this back, it's less job opportunities.
And what happens if we get a deal?
If we get a deal, it's going to take about a month. Let me walk you through that real quick. About 2 weeks to get the ships repositioned around these major ports, from Qingdao to Shanghai to Xiamen, load up all those containers, and then another 2 weeks to steam across the Pacific to get to us. This is important because now we're talking about spring and summer fashion. So we're kind of at a crux here that we've got to have something pretty quick.
And back to school, which is going to be, I think, very critical when it comes to political pushback for this administration. We have a story out, it was anecdotal reporting as well. We've heard about China quietly starting to exempt about a quarter of U.S. imports. Are any U.S. importers exempting Chinese tariffs? Is there a way to get around the 145%?
Not really. There may be some exceptions, Anne-Marie, maybe a little bit going north or south of us, but realistically speaking, nobody is out there talking a lot about, hey, I got a better deal coming out of China right now.
The Flexport CEO joined us earlier in the week, and he said ocean freight is down 60% from China. When do we see 100%?
Good question. It depends on how long this goes. We heard the reports overnight through Bloomberg that the folks in China are thinking about talking. What does that mean? Okay, great, but we've got to get a move on here. The other thing is that retailers are saying we've got about 5 to 7 weeks of normal inventory in the country right now. Then we start to see spot shortages if it goes.
We getting it? Are we all getting it? Because Trump's a liar or can't grasp how supply chain works. I'm fascinated by logistics and supply chain. I want everyone to know a huge problem. Like MAGA has no idea what rises in inflation, right? Like a huge cause of inflation. And I mean, one of the primary causes when inflation got up to 9% was shortage of dock workers. Like when you hear people mentioning dock workers and containers that aren't full, like if you don't understand the supply chain, commodities, how things are moved across the world, like you are talking about he's describing a recession. And Trump's like, maybe the kids will have $2 instead of 20. No, weirdo. That's not how the supply chain works. And you have no idea what you're talking about. And listening to you speak is physically painful while you're driving us towards a recession. But that is the man that runs the ports that receive the containers from China. So, and when I say like Trump better stop effing around this week, yeah, I mean, last week, this should have stopped. If it doesn't stop this week, we're about to have a very uncomfortable experience this summer. And let's see if MAGA can correctly blame that on the right person. My guess is no, because they can't ever get anything right. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for supporting me on my backup and being here today. Hopefully my band will be over tomorrow. I have been live since 5 a.m. and I think I'm going to go get a little bit of rest. Also, my dad just came here, so I'm going to help him because, he needs me for a second to do some things for him. That's the, Hispanic daughters. Until I marry, I am owned by my father, coverture law. If you've never been the daughter of a Black Hispanic man, then you wouldn't understand. But I need to go help my dad with a few things. So I want to thank you guys for supporting me on my backup. And this way, if you're not following me here right now, this is my backup. Follow me. So it looks like TikTok is giving out random bans for, being the victim of people saying horrible things to you. So maybe we'll be spending more time here in the future. I don't know. So just make sure you follow me here. And now that we all are following each other here, it'll be easier to find each other in the future. I just want to say thank you guys so much today. In a very weird way, I feel closer to you guys. And I love when we have these conversations where we all get to know each other better. So truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the nice words, and thanks for spending time with me today. And thank you for all your support. Oh yeah, let me say a few things before we end. So tomorrow, Matt, USMC Angry Veteran, he's at oh God, I'm going to get it totally wrong. I'm just going to butcher. There's a conference going on in DC. Is it trending upward or upward trend? Matt is at a conference, and I think it ends Wednesday. So there will be no live with Matt and I tomorrow. As a result, I can't remember, but we'll resume our lives on Tuesday next week, normal time. I say that for Matt because Matt is so unorganized. So he's oh, just tell everyone. So yeah, Matt is at a conference. I'm butchering the name, but something in DC, and then he'll return to normal schedule. I think it ends Wednesday, so he might even continue his lives end of this week. But just as far as Matt and I, we normally do a live on Tuesdays. We'll be doing that next Tuesday. So just to say that, and then the virtual town halls, the effing fight, virtual town halls. Steve and I believe. And I was let's survive today and then we'll plan Tuesday. So we do plan to do that. We will be doing that tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Again, it's a virtual town hall series. We've been inspired by all the town halls, and we want to give voice to people, and we'll be doing different topics. And as we build this, hopefully leading up to the midterms, it'll be a place where we can, scream about healthcare, but then also talk about certain elections and highlight candidates. And it will just be a platform that we develop where people, all of us, have a voice. And just because you can't necessarily go zip tie yourself to a pole at a protest, I'm immunocompromised. I get it. We want to create a platform where everyone can kind of have a voice and be heard and tell their story. So that's the goal. What will you do? The People's Receipts tomorrow? No, well, I never usually do it on Tuesdays. The People's Receipts usually happens Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. So, but I don't know. I honestly feel, I don't know. Maybe I'll find someone to debate with tomorrow. This backup account maybe eventually will end up being a debate account because I haven't blocked a bunch of people. I don't know. But I am feeling maybe I'll talk to some people and see. Maybe I'll find something we can do together. But 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing a virtual town hall live with Fax and I tomorrow night. And then maybe I'll figure out something else for us to do during the day because you guys give me life and make me want to plan things. So I'll look into that and I'll let you guys know. Again, if you're not in the Discord, whether you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, X, or TikTok, just link in bio, copy and paste it into a browser. Don't click on it because for some reason, I reset it yesterday and people already sent me a link and they're like, the link doesn't work. But join us in the Discord so that way as things are fluid and change, if I decide to debate or whatever happens, you can find that as it's happening. Backup. I don't know what you mean, Sam. You mean this is my backup. Everyone follow it. But, my regular account, I think I get my main account back tomorrow at allegedly by 9 a.m., I think. For my bank account that someone was saying I should be SA'd. So hopefully by 9 a.m. tomorrow, I'll have my account back. Allegedly. Who knows? But I'll figure that out. And then if I debate or whatever, I don't know. I've been talking to a lot of people as we get nearer to the midterms, and like I feel this desperation to be more politically active. I've been talking to some people about doing more things. So if that comes to fruition, I'll let you guys know. But I shall see you guys tomorrow at minimum at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern. And thank you guys so much for all the support today. You guys don't know what it means to me. You guys are the most amazing people. Yeah, and follow my main account. But mainly, if you're not following this backup, follow it, because it looks like everybody on TikTok will be banned regularly for no reason.